Deuteronomy 7:6, for you, Israel, are a chosen people, a holy people to the Lord your God. The Lord your God has chosen you to be a people for himself. Listen to this next sentence. A special treasure above all the people on the face of the earth. That includes the United States of America.
I must also remind you that God is not in some special covenant with the United States of America. The only covenant blessing we have in the United States is because we have been in covenant with Israel. There is one nation where God says, I am the God of Israel. 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 And when God confirmed his covenant with the people, the shofar rang out through all of eternity to be reminded he's a covenant-keeping God.
The Gemara says, when Yerushalayim is up, Rome is down. The Kabbalah say that today's Rome is not Italy. Rome is America. See, America is Rome of today. That's Romi. That's the Darkei Romi. Amorai, America. Rome, Amorai, America. Okay. So, what do we promise in Moshe Shemitah? V'tziviti et birkati. Hashem promised bumper crops in the land of Israel in Moshe Shemitah. There's natural gas right offshore. Israel's going to be pretty soon economically independent. If Israel was going up like that, the U.S. economy cannot be up at the same time the Israeli economy is up. It's got to go down.
Now, America will fall because they've already turned against the Jews. They've already made it clear that they are no longer friends with the Jews, or at least too many people. There are still good people in America, but it's becoming the norm, and it's spreading at an insane pace. So America will fall, and the Jews have to come to Israel. Those are facts. There's no question about it.
The UK has got a special place in my heart because, on the one hand, they really helped give birth to the Jewish state in World War I. The Balfour Declaration, the San Remo Accords, the mandate for a Jewish Palestine. The UK was at the forefront of that. And then they turned on us.
Yeah, I was about to say that.
They turned on us, man. And therefore they have a special place in hell for turning on the Jewish people.
Now the Jews gonna run away from America. They will all get up. Within a year or 2 or 5, we'll all have to run away from here. Once we will leave this place, Hashem will bury America. That's what's gonna happen. Not because I'm some kind of a prophet. I'm not giving you any prophecies here. I'm just describing to you a divine formula. The chosen people, where they're going to live, and you'll be good to them and nice to them, I will bless you from the place. The Torah has a source for it.
If you reject Judaism and Christianity and the brotherhood and the sisterhood of the two, not only are you rejecting our founding, you're rejecting our country.
We know very well, because we taught it here plenty of times, that when Edom, Rome, is built, Jerusalem cannot be built, and vice versa. They have no place in the world together. And so, since we do not have, what are the 3 things? The Shekhinah, right? Malchut Shamayim, Malchut Beit David, the establishment of the house of David, King Mashiach, and Beit HaMikdash. Jerusalem is not built, and therefore Rome must be built somewhere, where it is the world system today. Or in America, the New Rome. Whenever we see evil kingdom in the Talmud, it is always Rome. Europe was or is Esav, right? Esav, Edom. So today, Edom is America as well.
The United States have no future. That's it. There's no other way of explaining it. Edom, which is America, is going to be destroyed. There's a lot of prophecies, if you want to go just for 2 of them to see. One of them is in the book of Obadiah, chapter 1, and the other one is in the book of Jeremiah 49. You'll see the destruction of Edom. So really, the United States of America is destined to crash miserably. But I'm already telling you, take it as it is, America is going to be destroyed, America is going down, and that will bring the destruction of the entire Western world, because America is the one who's pulling the wagon, and Hashem is going to cause that, and like I told you, it's going to happen in many different ways. My clear advice to any normal American is pack your bags and leave. I've been saying that for 10 years already. I've been telling Americans, I live by an example, and I'm happy I did that. Because from the second that I left the United States 9 years ago, it's only going down and worse.
We are currently in Galut Edom right now, and we are dealing with them, or God is dealing with them, and don't worry, they will be dealt with. When Israel rises, Edom falls. Now, I'm not playing around when I say that Christianity and Israel can never coexist. Never.
I don't believe that the Jewish state and modern Zionism would have been possible without Christian Zionism. I think that the many Christian supporters of the rebirth of the Jewish state and the ingathering of the Jewish people in the 19th century made possible the rise of Jewish Zionism.
Because it directly contradicts the written word of God. Like Jacob and Esau, there can never be two on top. Only one, right? If one is up, one is down. They can never coexist. The deviousness of Edom must come to an end. We also know that Amalek, who's Amalek? Amalek is a grandson of Esav, of Edom. Amalek, who's Amalek? Edom, Rome, right? These are Edom. You see the connection over here. They come from Edom. They are the worst of the worst part of Edom. And God will remove their memory from existence at the end of time as well. Do you even know who Satan is? He's the angel of death. The archangel of Edom, God for Israel, Satan for Edom. Once Edom is destroyed, along with its false Messiah, then and only then can Israel rise, and Messiah ben David can gather the exiles and build the third temple.
God say, I love you. I love Jacob, and I hate Esav. I hate Esav. The children of Esav, they read something like that. They go out of their mind. It's the same God they bow down to. Then they call him the father of JC. They call JC the son of God. Same God, right? The God of the Bible. Who is Esav? All the Europeans are children of Esav. Russia, France, England, French people, Danish people, Swedish people, Scandinavians, United States, all the Americans, not the blacks. The blacks came from Africa, from Ham. But all the white people in America are all children of Esav. Dutch, German, Irish, British. They're all from Esav. Half of the world is Esav, or more.
And Edom must be destroyed, and the false Messiah must be completely exposed. And once that happens, then the real one actually comes. And then Jerusalem can be built properly. When this one falls, the other rises. Israel and Rome can never stand at the same time. They are opposites. Jacob, Israel, and Esav, Edom. The Christians and the rest of the pagan world have no future. You must understand this. This is the end of Edom. As the real Mashiach ben David cannot come until the false Mashiach of Edom falls, for they cannot both stand. There can only be one. So far that there is Rome and there is the Western world, the kingdom of God cannot stand. The temple cannot be built. So what has to happen before the temple is built? Worldwide destruction and all the tentacles of that beast that are all over the place. In the end of days, God is going to completely clean house, and all the idolatry and the idol worshippers will be completely removed from existence.
I'm pro-Israel, though, because God said they were his people, and he has put them on hold for a season. He's using the church right now to make Israel jealous and to accomplish his purposes for his kingdom. But the time of the Gentiles is going to come to an end, and then he'll finish what he started with Israel. And God said, look, I'll deal with Israel. You just remember they're the apple of my eye. And I don't have time tonight to take to you all the passages that talk about how God is going to judge in the last days all the nations that went against his people. Therefore, God here shows us that when you become an enemy of Israel, you become an enemy of God. Just leave it at that.
Jesus was a Jew and still is. The whole world's going to be judged by a Jew. Well, Jews run the world. Actually, one runs the universe, so you might as well get over that real quick.
Again, at the end of the book, in the book of Revelation, John the Apostle sees the lamb that was slain, and then he looks, and it's the lion of the tribe of Judah. I mean, like, I'm sorry, but that's who he still is at the end of the story. I would counter to those who say Jesus is no longer Jewish. I would say actually what the Bible teaches is that the Messiah is coming back, and Jesus is coming back as a fully God and fully man. This is historical Orthodox Christian doctrine from the beginning. He's fully God, fully man, and as a man, he took on flesh as a Jewish man, and he's coming back to engage in a hostile takeover of the planet. A divine Jewish man is coming back to engage in a hostile takeover of the planet. Prove me wrong otherwise. Show me in the Bible where it says otherwise.
Whoa, getting us off to a hot start with the new super edit by Woke Christianity.
Deuteronomy.
Getting us going. Perfect, because the first story we're going to get in today with our guest, Need More Amalek, who is here. Audio. What's up? Can we hear you?
What's up, dude? Can you hear me now? What's up?
We hear you, yep.
That was an awesome mix. Huge shout
Seriously.
out to See Through It All and Woke Christianity. That's a good one.
Yeah. And info lib news. Also getting lots of clips. His logo is on there too. Like this one here. Did you see this? This ties perfectly in with the first story today. Netanyahu. Watch this.
Well, we lost that one. I think we have to win the next one.
Hold on.
We want to know what you're reading now.
What I'm reading?
Yeah.
It's a book by a historian named Barry Strauss. It's called The Jews Against Rome. The Jews Against Rome.
What made you pick it up?
Well, we lost that one. I think we have to win the next one.
Wow. What else do you need to know? They're win the next war against Rome. They're in a war against Rome, the West, Esau, Edom, as all the rabbis just outlined right there. Dude, this is so bombshell. What do you think?
Oh yeah, I mean this shows that they know all this prophecy stuff. A lot of times we get people who say the religious stuff doesn't matter, the prophecy stuff doesn't matter. That has no playing on their politics. But we see stuff like this, right? That obviously shows they know, like they're tapped into what we talk about. And then we see things like when he had that interview with what's her name, White. He comes right out and says, they basically studied the Bible to determine their borders. So this whole like secular state of Israel nonsense is just like a total bullshit.
Yeah, I mean, there was some secular people involved, but that's such a cover to try to blame it atheist, secular. It's just Christians that try to do that too, to try to argue like, oh, it's not the real biblical Israel. They don't even believe. Like, if they believed, it would all be good. If it was 90% were rabbis instead of like 50% or whatever that's observant in religion. But there you go. The book is Jews versus Rome. It is about like the wars of the first century between the Jerusalem and Rome, but so telling that he says he picked it up because he wants to win the next war against Rome, which is clearly Edom in America. He compared America, he called America the new Rome in his interview with Pompeo in Trump's first term. I was trying to find the clip, but I couldn't find it. But he says it. He goes, "You guys are like the new Rome."
Oh yeah, I remember that one for sure. I'm reading like a summary of that book right now, and it says it details and highlights the life of the Jewish figure Princess Berenice, the lover of the Roman general Titus, Queen Helena, a convert who built palaces in Jerusalem, and the rebel leader Simon Bar Kokhba. That's what the book goes over.
Look at this. Here's this symbolic Jerusalem conquering Rome. Remember when this happened after October 7th on the Arch of Titus? They projected the Star of David on it.
Oh yeah, and then they all posted on Twitter, we won or whatever. Yeah.
Pretty much, yeah. So crazy. He's openly admitting that he's waging war. They think it is a war. It is a war against the West. Let's not pretend like he doesn't think that the West equals Edom when we got just hours of rabbis on YouTube talking about it and saying it, and throughout the Talmud and the sages and everywhere, all saying this shit.
I bet you that book's fascinating.
Yeah.
From the I always like reading that kind of stuff, like the kind of like from their perspective directly, because they kind of just because they don't think anyone sees it the way we see it. They kind of just are very open about it.
Like this guy, super open. I'm not sure if he was in the compilation, but that compilation could have gone on for hours, by the way, of them talking about destroying Edom.
This encounter was before the destruction of the temple. And it says in the Talmud, we learned that not too long ago in Shar Gilgulim, but it says, לא נתמלט צור אלא מחורבנה של ירושלים. The city of Tzor does not get built rather from the whole city down. Second, it says in the same place in the Talmud, and then in a few other places, that if somebody tells you both cities are bnuyot, are built, al ta'amin. Both cities are destroyed, al ta'amin. Al ta'amin, don't believe. One is built, one is destroyed, Tamin. Saying in other words, as long as the Vatican is up, the Jerusalem is going to be destroyed. If the Jerusalem is built, that's the power of the entire world. That's why the war is constantly on Jerusalem. Because they know that's where the control is.
The two cities cannot coexist. Their whole religion is built around destroying Rome in the West. And then Netanyahu says that shit. Well, they pretend, all the rest of them pretend like we're the greatest allies and we're the defenders of Western civilization. Right? It just the other day, Ted Cruz was with Mark Levin, and he's like, if we don't stamp out this anti-Semitism, like America won't survive, right? That's the meme, is that Western civilization will fall if Israel falls. Or like Barry Weiss with Bill Mayer said, she was like, oh, the sign of a deteriorating country, a country in destruction is how they treat the Jews. Like they treat the Jews bad, and then the empire collapses and gets crushed by Hashem.
Yeah, that's basically been their go-to line for centuries as well. That's not something that's like a new rhetoric. That's something that goes back for a long time, like the 1700s, 1600s, and 1500s. A lot of like court Jews, like Jews that were involved with like power, like governmental power and religious power specifically, they both constantly are saying some version of that line of pogroms, that's so bad, it must be a sign that the country is actually failing, maybe it's the sign of the end times. That they're always doing that argument.
You know what's real annoying
like
too is
classic like anti-Semitism neutralization strategies, right? Where you basically you're appealing to the Christianity when you do that.
Absolutely. And what did the Christian cope that we see all the time on the internet, all the big viral stuff in regards, when you hear anything about Edom, it's they're secretly Edom. So what are they? They're the West, and they're going to be destroyed. So instead of exposing that they're like waging war against us according to this religion, they lie about what their religion says and pretend that they don't even believe in their religion and that they're imposters and all this shit. It's so retarded.
I had some moron this morning call me an Edomite. Like, dude, all right. All right.
Just like the Black Hebrew Israelites will call us Edomites too.
Yeah, it's insane. It's absolutely insane.
Yeah. Okay. So much stuff to cover today. We got some Jesus mythicism stuff, some Wes Huff, some Ian Carroll, some Alex O'Connor, Myth Vision and Richard Carrier clips, and so much happening in the news. There's big Epstein drops happening. Trump is sent a letter. How many times is he going to push to get Netanyahu pardoned? Like, this is he's really obsessed with getting Netanyahu off the hook here. Isn't it like getting absurd at this point? He sends a letter to the president, Herzog, calling for the prosecution, saying it's unjust and divisive. So funny. That's what the Christians try to say to us.
Stop dividing. You're dividing the movement, Bibby, or the courts. They're dividing the movement. Oh, look, more appeals to the Bible. 3,000 years.
Yep. Secured peace that has been sought for at least 3,000 years. Hereby thank you and all Israelis for the gracious, warm hospitality, amazing people. I hereby call on you to fully pardon Netanyahu, who has been a formidable and decisive wartime president and is now leading Israel into a time of peace, which includes my continued work with the key Middle East leaders to add many additional countries to the world-changing Abraham Accords. Who'd they just add in? Kazakhstan or somebody like that? Right? Just join the Abraham Accords? Kazakhstan. Are you there? Netanyahu is stood tall for Israel. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, they got Borat on there, and it's like another Muslim country, and it's that was already leading up to beforehand. What's interesting about that is like Kazakhstan has like a very like long relationship with Russia as well, so it's almost like they're kind of like getting into the what I would like the Russian sphere of influence or whatever.
How long before Russia joins the Abraham Accords? They're part of the Abraham cult. Okay, Netanyahu stood tall for Israel in the face of strong adversaries and long odds, and his attention cannot be diverted. Israeli justice system, Bibi. Iran, we have established a great relationship, thankful and honored, agreed, inaugurated, blah, blah, blah. Keep him on. Time to let Bibi unite Israel by pardoning him and ending that lawfare once and for all. Thank you for attention to this matter. He always does that shit. What do you think? Is Trump gonna be? Oh, look at the ball washer. Oh wait, Mark Levin seeing this. That's funny, dude. He's so into. Is this why? Is this because they got the blackmail? They got the goods on him.
I don't know if it's
what else would
blackmail as much
explain
as
this?
I mean, I don't know. I think the blackmail thing is definitely possible. I mean, especially with Trump, right? I mean, he was basically like created by being a sleazy, New York real estate guy. So it's not, not surprising at all. But I really think like the ego is the easiest way to control Trump, and they have him actually believing that he's like doing biblical things that will be remembered for time, like forever, basically. You know what I mean? I think that's like the biggest motivator for him.
Yep. So big trending today is Epstein stuff. New York Post has Jeffrey Epstein claim Donald Trump knew about the girls, quote unquote, knew about the girls in 2019 email. And some other stuff's some other stuff's coming out, like this one. 2015 email from Epstein said, "Would you like photos of Donald Trump and girls in bikinis in my kitchen?" Who emails that to somebody else?
Well,
BuzzFeed.
It's so weird, but what was the name of the leaks that happened that was like this with the CNN debate back when Trump was getting elected? What was do you know what I'm talking about? Hold on, I'll figure it out.
CNN debate? You mean there was the leak of the grab him by the pussy? There was the footage of him like watching young pageant girls like get undressed or something, I think was another one. But they had the leak of Trump's letter he sent to Epstein for his 50th birthday, where he drew the woman purportedly.
Yeah.
Right. That's something else happening too. I might as well have it a mention. I don't have it all up, but Kash Patel's girlfriend, who works for PragerU, is suing Elijah Schaffer and Sam Parker for $5 million each for calling her a Mossad honey trap.
That's crazy. I don't understand what the basis of the lawsuit is and how it doesn't just get instantly thrown out. This like whole lawfare thing is crazy. And then I haven't looked into this story too much, but who is like sponsoring this? Is she paying for the lawsuit, or is someone doing it pro bono for her, like some sort of anti-hate group or whatever? Because that's how these things usually are, is that one of these law groups will come up to one of these people and be like, hey, you're a victim and we can get you some money and you only have to pay us if we win for you, and then they just kind of sign off on it and here we go. I don't know if that's what's going on here, but that's how these things usually go.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of understand, if some big account with hundreds of thousands of followers did a post and it got tens of thousands of likes lying about me or calling me Jewish or a Mossad agent, like Christians have done, not that many likes, but there's been 1,000 likes on a post lying about me like that. I would love to sue. If any of these anon idiots had any money to be able to sue and win for them slandering me like that, I'm all for it.
Oh yeah, I mean,
fuck that.
The whole idea of like free speech, I obviously value that and kind of need it for like the political situation we're in, but at the same time, like there's no reason for people to be able to say this kind of stuff that's just like obviously like discernibly untrue, and they're saying it just for this purpose of slander. It's ridiculous that we tolerate this. I looked it up. It's the Donna Brazile. Do you remember this? Back when Trump first got elected, she was the host of the debate with him and Hillary Clinton, and she apparently she was like leaking the questions to Trump, or I'm sorry, to Hillary. And it was like
I
a
heard
big,
about
huge
that.
deal back then. You remember that? Remember that? So it's almost like this is they were doing the same thing for him basically, just with Epstein back. You know what I mean?
It says in this email, of course he knew about the girls. That's the other big leak. It said something about Trump knowing about the girls, gives valuable PR, hang him in any way, positive benefit, raw deal, victim correctus. Okay, hold on. So, no, I mean, is it not so obvious how Trump has been reacting to all of this stuff? Look at what his press secretary is saying again, too, just saying it's a Democratic hoax.
Democrats never brought this up. This wasn't an issue. Requests. So this administration has done more than any, and it just shows how this is truly a manufactured hoax by the Democrat Party for now they're talking about it all of a sudden because President Trump is in the Oval Office. But when Joe Biden was sitting in there, the Democrats never brought this up. This wasn't an issue that they cared about because they actually don't care about the victims in these cases. They care about trying to score political points against President Trump, as we have, of course, seen with this government shutdown requests. So this administration has done.
Lana is green pill posting. Henrik was in the chat yesterday, and now Lana is green pill posting.
Yeah, I saw that. I
think they're both feeling the Christian fatigue, apparently.
Yeah, Devin, and well, I think our greatest soldiers, the Christian e-crusaders. I think with Dave Riley's like little crash out he had about Devin and Red Ice and all that stuff. It's just gonna, like I said, I've said this 1,000 times in the space and stuff like that. Christian behavior is going to push people towards our position. It's really kind of just inevitable, and it's more about us kind of making the arguments and putting them forward in the proper way that people can kind of like use them in their own arguments and things like that. Because this is kind of inevitable at this point.
Here's one more on the Epstein thing I just saw. Let's see what TMZ,
from the House Oversight Committee
TMZ's
released a slew of emails, and they are about as significant as anything we've seen yet, tying Donald Trump to Jeffrey Epstein in a far more significant way than we've ever heard to this point.
Yeah, and then these emails are conversations between Jeffrey Epstein and author Michael Wolff, as well as Ghislaine Maxwell.
So let's start with 2015, just before the Republican debates on CNN.
Remember, Wolff? Is it Wolff was the one that had the phone conversations where Epstein says that he was best friends with Trump for 10 years? I think. Yeah. Remember, they dropped it right like the day before the election. 2024.
It's the whole situation with her is crazy. She's in I was just watching a Breaking Points video on this last night, and the whole she has like a dog, and the other inmates at the prison are complaining that basically like she rules the roost, and every time she gets a guest or something like that, they have to shut down the whole prison, and it's like this. I mean, it's basically like a resort prison, and she has a pet puppy, and they give her hours of internet access a day. How crazy is that? So they're terrified of her revealing whatever she knows, is what I would say. So I think.
Yeah, Trump, she's like, you better let me out. You better give me a pardon, otherwise she's gonna squeal and tell. Yeah. Or she'll say, hey, let me out, and I'll say you had nothing to do with it. Also, I think that's
something like
going to be one of those two. So,
well, for sure, I think Trump was basically like, hey, like make sure she doesn't. Like, hey, make sure she doesn't freak out, or someone deal with that. Make sure she's happy, whatever.
I wish you well. I wish you well, Ghislaine.
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe we'll give you a pardon. I don't know.
Michael Wolff, the author, told Jeffrey Epstein that he was concerned that they might.
He had heard actually that
CNN would ask questions about Epstein to Donald Trump.
Right. Would ask Donald Trump about his relationship with Epstein, and Epstein responds to Michael Wolff's bringing that up, and Epstein says, if we could craft an answer, what should it be?
Now listen to this.
Which, by the way, we should say makes it clear that Epstein is saying, if I could get information to Trump on how to respond to that question, what should it be?
Well, if it were simply if the truth was simply all he knew, he just knew and socialized with Epstein, you wouldn't be concerned about crafting an answer. Right. You craft an answer when there are things you don't want to say or shade or avoid. Now listen to this. Wolff sends back to Donald Trump this. This is a quote.
No, Wolff sends back to Epstein.
Wolff sends back to Epstein. This is a quote. I think you should let him hang himself. If he says he hasn't been on the plane or to the House, then that gives you a valuable PR and political currency. Then he goes on to say this. If it really looks like he could win, you could save him. You could save him generating a debt. That is way more
to save him.
So Epstein is telling Michael Wolff to blackmail Trump basically with Epstein shit.
Yeah, basically, yeah.
Part is you could save him.
Save him from what? That's the question. If it's just they socialized, you're not saving him from anything.
Right.
Dude. Okay, here's what Michael Wolff released. Recap. This was November 2nd. So it was, what's that, 4 days before the election?
Yeah.
So how do you know?
Before the election, there was people saying like, "Oh, there's a big thing that could drop. It's a big thing that could drop," and everyone thought it was like, "Oh, him saying the N-word or something like that." Remember that? I bet you it was this.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you know this?
That was close to straight.
So I need the dump.
Donald's closest friend for 10 years. Okay, get to the point. Let's see. Okay, now here's Trump on the H-1B immigrant visas question. Everybody's very fell for it again. Everybody's getting another round of fell for it again awards, right? Check this one.
Oh yeah,
22.
this is so bad. I mean,
Yeah.
the
I haven't
coping
watched it
going
yet,
on for
actually.
MAGA is crazy.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
There's never going to be a country like what we have right now.
And does that
the
mean
Republicans have to talk about it, Laura.
And does that mean the H-1B visa thing will not be a big priority for your administration? Because if you want to raise wages for American workers, you can't flood the country with tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands
I agree,
of foreign
but
workers.
You also do have to bring in talent. When
Well,
a
we have
country
plenty of talented people
No, you
here.
don't. No, you don't.
We don't have talented people here?
No, you don't have. You don't.
Wow, it's just like what Vivek was saying on Twitter. Like Americans are too lazy and not smart engineers and not good enough talent. We can't run the factories and do shit.
And what's crazy about this administration is how incompetent they are at setting this is our position on this thing. Is Stephen Miller behind him rolling his eyes? Like, what's going on here? I don't.
Yeah.
It makes no sense.
Yeah, good point. Good point. Not looking good.
Certain talents, and people have to learn. You can't take people off an unemployment line and say, "I'm going to put you into a factory. We're going to make missiles," or "I'm going to put."
How did we ever do it before?
Well,
when you and I were
I'll give you an
growing up.
example.
Yeah, what you're saying, like Americans aren't smart enough that if they don't have the right training and education, they can't do it. Only foreigners can. Is that what he's trying to say?
Oh yeah.
That's what it sounds like to me.
They raided because they wanted illegal immigrants out. They had people from South Korea that made batteries all their lives. Making batteries are very complicated. It's not an easy thing and very dangerous. A lot of explosions, a lot of problems. They had like 500 or 600 people, early stages, to make batteries and to teach people how to do it. Well, they wanted them to get out of the country. You're going to need that, Laura. I mean, I know you and I disagree on this. You can't just say, a country's coming in, going to invest $10 billion to build a plant.
All his big tech buddies probably tell him, like, hey, no, we need this slave labor. We need to bring in the foreigners to replace the white guys and pay them less.
Well, I mean, Elon Musk definitely is. Like, I don't know what the relationship is there right now, but just the tech situation in general needs that labor because of the amount of data centers they're trying to open and all this other bullshit they're trying to open. They need that cheap labor basically to even operate. And they're putting all of our economic chips right now on AI, on the big tech sector. So it's not what's his name, Karp and all these other guys have been on the news lately, suggesting that, AI is already too big to fail. You know what I mean? So Sam Altman was just talking about that, right? So they've already set themselves up to be the too big to fail. So the fact that they're just getting the kickback of, and also you're getting cheap Indian labor or whatever it will be because you need the people, that's just like totally unsurprising, right? Like that's like icing on the cake, if you will, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I want to say it was like Christmas last year, or maybe the year before. There was a big controversy with Elon on Twitter. He said he would die on this hill for the H-1B visas.
Yeah.
I'm not finding it on Twitter right now. But
And going to take people off an unemployment line who haven't worked in 5 years, and they're going to start making missiles. It doesn't work that way.
So we got to bring in foreigners to make missiles, apparently. Doesn't work that way. The white Americans, what's left of us, just isn't capable of doing it, apparently.
Yeah, you're sounding anti-Semitic. You sounds like you don't want Israel to have those missiles.
Yeah, they're for missiles. We got to bring in foreigners to Edom to make missiles for Israel.
Yeah, if you're against immigration of specifically Indian missile makers, then you're anti-Semitic. Like, Israel needs those. God promised them those missiles.
Is this the same one?
Tens of thousands or hundreds of
I
thousands
agree,
of foreign
but
workers.
you also do have to bring in talent.
Okay, that's the same one we just saw. What is this one? Oh, DHS secretary on the same question.
Reasons. What is the administration's position on these visas?
No, we're going to keep using our visa programs. We're just going to make sure that they have integrity, that we're actually doing the vetting of the individuals who come into this country, that they want to be here for the right reasons. That they're not
Vetting to make sure they're not anti-Israel, right? That's the vetting, their main vetting process. Man, looking plump.
Yeah, I was just thinking.
She got a new
really
refill.
Nailed it with her, huh?
supporters of terrorists.
What an insane
and
situation.
organizations that hate
Have you seen
America.
the before pictures?
And that's what I think is so remarkable is under the Trump administration, we've sped up our process and added integrity to the visa programs, to green cards, to all of that. But also, more people are becoming naturalized under this administration than ever before. More people are becoming citizens because
crazy.
we're not just streamlining and building some processes back into our immigration policies. We're also making sure that these individuals that are coming into our country and get that privilege, that they actually are here for the right reasons. The Biden administration let thousands of terrorists into this country. They opened the southern border.
Terrorists. Anti-Israel.
She is like the best HR lady for the Trump administration, like telling all the good employees and all the good Trump supporters exactly what to think and how to argue for this. It's crazy.
Yeah,
that's what
she's doing. Her MILF photo shoots at the border and with the guns and stuff.
This is perfect to get the Fox News people on board. I told you this before, but I watch a lot of Fox News. I just have it on the background on TV constantly because I like to see what these people are like, what they're feeding people, and it is shocking how bad it is. It's like it's like beyond parody of itself. If I just if you made Fox News parodies, it would be indistinguishable from what's actually going on Fox. And this kind of stuff is just on all day long, like multiple hours a day.
Programs abused our protective programs and visa programs, and we fixed all of it. It's remarkable what President Trump has done, and it's because he's a great leader. He's a visionary, and this man is going to go down as a legend in history as our greatest president ever.
Wow. Greatest ever. Legend status. Pete Hegseth says no more beards and Nordic pagans. You want to go die in the military? You want to go be a Zogbot and die for Israel? You got to be a Christian. Christian sacrifices only, apparently. You'd think they'd want the pagans to go.
I also
here we
said,
go.
So in line with POTUS's common sense agenda, the first item of what we're undertaking inside the Department of War is restoring the warrior ethos. So a lot of what I just said falls into the category of restoring the warrior ethos. And it's up and down the ranks. As I mentioned, that speech at Quantico, whether you're an airborne ranger or a chairborne ranger, a brand new private or a 4-star general in the Pentagon, you need to meet height and weight standards and pass a PT test twice a year. I also said we don't need to be in military of beardos anymore. Do you know how many troops claim to be Nordic pagan? No, suddenly it's become like this real fake religious affiliation inside the Pentagon where troops claim to be Nordic pagan so they can grow a beard, and no one challenges them on it because no one's upheld standards for a long time. So now a quarter of the platoon is sporting beards because they're now suddenly Nordic pagans. We're not doing that stuff anymore. The idea is, it's sort of
No, only Christ Crusaders that want to die for Israel, for Hashem and Yeshua, like on his tattoo.
From my understanding, two things. First of all, there is no Nordic pagan beard profile like exception. First of all, in the military, and second of all, like I don't think that exists. I can look it up to make sure, but when I was in, that wasn't a thing. But the second thing is I sent just a list. Yeah, there it is. Yeah. How funny is it? If you just like you can just Google Nordic pagan beard Hegseth racist, and there's article after article after article, because basically, for people that were in the military know this, that the people who are on no shave profiles, like people that have like a like they don't have to shave, they're not forced to shave every day, it's almost exclusively black people and Caribbean people, because it makes it gives them like stubbles and they can't shave every day and all this other stuff. So they're calling him racist for that speech. Which is hilarious.
Yeah, that is funny.
Because what's ridiculous is he's like, oh, they're Nordic pagans that are not shaving their beards. There's like no evidence of that, and I can think of every single person in the military that I ever knew that had a shaving profile. Every single one of them was a black guy. So I don't know what the hell he's talking about, unless there's Norse pagan black guys, which I've never seen one of those.
So you're saying that's not even a thing, that you don't get a waiver if you're a Norse pagan, you don't have to shave? That's not even a thing. He's just like bullshitting just so he can be anti. He just it's like he's a stand-up comedian and he just has his beardo joke.
If it might be a new thing, I guess, maybe from, I don't know, maybe it's, yeah, I guess I am looking at it right now and it says that it is a relatively new thing. Yeah, so there are people that have it. It's just, I'm telling you right now, it is way, way, way more rare than just black.
I would do it. If I was in the military, I'd be like, yeah, I'm a pagan, so I don't have to shave every day.
Well, it's funny because like that whole thing, like wearing a beard is supposed to be like oh, I'm special forces, like prestige thing, which is still stupid, but
yeah.
Broken windows.
I covered this. I covered this when he said it last time, actually, at the original big event, and people were posting in the thread a bunch of old like generals and military leaders and old military, and they all had big beards. So anti-beard is anti-white.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one too.
Yep. Yeah, this is hilarious. Did you see this one? Trump with the leader of Syria. He's spraying his probably stank cologne on these dudes, and then makes a joke about how many wives he has, bullshitting with him to his face. It's so funny. Watch this.
This is men's fragrance. Look, hold it. Yeah. This is
Dude, spraying it right in their face.
Fragrance. Come here,
Come here, breathe it in real good. It's made in China.
So what we'll do is just take that, Joe, put it in, and then the other one is for your wife. How many wives? You guys, I never know, right?
With you guys, I never know, right? Multiple wives? Is that a pretty good deal? I bet you he's joking. He's going to convert to Islam so he can have multiple wives.
It is so ridiculous. Oh, he's definitely made that joke in private to some of these guys, I bet.
Yeah.
Some of the Muslims.
Yep. Let's see. Are we going to get to the mythicism stuff yet? I got some mythicist stuff, but I also have this. Hold on. I want to make sure if any of these are going to come up. Oh, I kind of want to do this before we get into the mythicist. Ian Carroll getting owned by Wes Huff, who we're going to play Wes Huff in a second. The Schofield Bible cope that all the Christians like to do. It got this viral clip of Ian Carroll updated saying, oh, the Rothschilds rewrote the Bible and made it Jewish. Like, that's basically the conspiracy, which is just bullshit. So listen to their guru, the scholar, the big timer, Wes Huff, debunking this. Were you going to say something?
I was gonna say, like, I've tried desperately to look into this, like Schofield's funding is the Rothschilds thing. Like, I tried to look into this so many times, and it's just a completely dead end bullshit. Like, nothing behind it. The people who were doing it were basically like extreme Christian Zionists that were like direct descendants of the type of like Puritan eschatology that we saw from like the Cromwell era. Like, there's a direct lineage of those types of Christians to the types of Christians that made the Schofield Bible. It's not like there doesn't need to be any Rothschilds involved in it whatsoever. It's just such a ridiculous.
Yeah, like the idea that the Christians aren't just going to read the Bible and come up with some kosher shit like that on their own. Like, it's impossible. In fact, as Wes Huff's going to say here, it wasn't even Schofield. Like, they act like the Rothschilds hired Schofield to do it. Like, there was other Christians before him that were having these similar ideas. Like, you take a Christian that believes the Bible and have him read it. It's not it's not surprising that they would come up with something like dispensationalists or Schofield Zionism.
I mean,
right?
I mentioned Cromwell. That's a good example. Cromwell believed that when they allowed Jews back into England, that was going to be the ingathering of the exiles and prepare the way for Jesus to come back. And that's hundreds of years before any Schofield Bible or anything like that, right? Yeah. So this is a recurring theme that they've had in Christianity. The Crusades were the same way. They basically saw the Crusades happened shortly after the year 1000 because they thought that the world was going to end and Jesus was going to come back in the year 1000. And when that didn't happen, they go for the Crusades and they make the exact same arguments where they say, oh, we have to go take the Holy Land, and then the Jews will convert to Christianity, and they'll convert to Jesus, and then Jesus will rule the planet for 1,000 years, blah blah blah, the whole thing. So the idea that you need Schofield Bible when the whole like eschatology is 1,000 years plus older is ridiculous.
Yeah, in Joel Richardson's book, When a Jew Rules the World, he has a bunch of quotes from Christians in like 15, 16, 1700s saying Zionist stuff about Jews returning to the land before the second coming of Jesus. So this is not something that the Rothschilds cooked up and they didn't even, it's a lie, they didn't rewrite the Bible. It's the King James Version translation with some reference notes and footnotes connecting different verses. It's just one guy's interpretation of things that just can't be overcome. And with the creation of the state of Israel, it gives that view more validity because now they have returned to the land. So it's like their version, their prophecy is like being fulfilled in their eyes, right? So
yeah, and like
it's all
they've always been considered a nation, right? Like the nation of Israel or the nation of Jews or whatever. They've always been considered a nation within the nations, or you know what I mean. So it's not a huge. It's not a large stretch to be like, oh, those people that have been living in our nations now have their own nation. That's the nation. You know what I mean? Like it's not a huge stretch. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, the footnotes that defeated Christianity, they can't overcome a couple reference notes. It's just too powerful of an argument. Maybe if all it takes is a couple reference notes to completely destroy your religion from your opinion, then your religion was flawed and not so great to begin with. If all it takes is a reference note in a one interpretation to completely subvert it and make it all Jewish and the greatest weapon supporting Israel, then maybe it was designed that way. Maybe it's flawed and vulnerable and enabling all of that to happen to begin with.
The other thing too is like this idea of like scapegoating dispensationalist Christians. They only make up like anywhere between 5 and 15% of Christians in the United States. Okay, so to sit there and pretend like all the churches are okay, it's just those 5 and 15% to 15% churches that are dispensationalists. Those are the problem churches. That's insane. That's ridiculous. The Catholic Church doesn't use the Schofield Bible. The Orthodox Church doesn't use the Schofield Bible. Most of the Protestant churches don't use any Schofield Bible. Like this whole argument is just completely ridiculous.
The people that never even heard of the Schofield Bible that believe these things, right?
Oh, for sure. Oh yeah,
the
exactly.
thing is that like these Christian conspiracy guys, somebody will make something up and then everybody repeats it. Like Ian Carroll didn't look this up; he's just seen a TikTok or a couple people he knows he heard say it. So everybody just makes up a lie and then repeats it over and over again. And like, what is the source for Rothschilds? I hear like, they were philanthropists that like funded all types of stuff. They had some funding going to the Oxford School, I think, or some Oxford thing, but there's no proof that there was like direct funding to that thing. It's just like, a big stretch that they do. All right,
there's no evidence that there was like funding to the point of editorial control for the Schofield Bible by the Rothschilds. There's no evidence for that.
Right.
Know about the Schofield Bible? Oh boy, here's a rabbit hole for you. Here's a rabbit hole for all of us. In the early 1900s, right around when the Federal Reserve was founded and the Balfour Declaration happened, right at that exact same time, the Rothschild family hired this dude, this pastor in the Deep South. He made a new version of the Bible called the Schofield Bible.
A new version of the Bible. Like that's wording it so like misrepresenting it so bad. It's the King James translation. It's not a new version. It's not a new version. Totally wrong.
He made a new version of the Bible called the Schofield Bible. He wrote this new Bible that has all these new interpretations of the text. So they didn't change.
Jewish influence. New.
Yes.
They weren't new either. They're influenced by Darby and other Christians like that.
Literally, that's where Judeo-Christianity kind of came from. And the idea that
the Judeo-Christianity has always been Judeo-Christianity because Christianity comes from Judaism. Why is Ian Carroll parroting every one of these Christian-controlled op copes? Schofield, no such thing as Judeo-Christian. What is he going to say? Jesus wasn't Jewish next?
I think hasn't he done the Docetism before? Where he's like,
you hear about the Rothschilds rewrote the Bible, bro? I saw it on a podcast. Ian Carroll said it. What was that?
Yeah. I was just saying, like, how first of all, he never read the Bible. Like, obviously doesn't know anything about Christianity, first of all. And second of all, he has done the Docetism thing before, where he says like, "Oh, Jesus had no ethnicity. He was born God. He was God or whatever."
Really, he did that cope even too.
I think he's done that on Twitter before in replies because our guys got after him making fun of him before. Yeah.
Israel is this modern Israel thing is the Israel of the Bible. It came from that Bible, and the Schofield Bible was funded by the Rothschild family, and then it was pushed because they owned the publisher that publishes like all the books. I think it was Oxford Press, and so they had the deals that they could make to get that Bible into all the mega churches across whole denominations of Christianity, and so that was when Christianity,
all denominations,
got kind of Jewified.
Jewified. Do you see how stupid this is? Acting like Christianity wasn't Jewish before the Schofield Bible. Then it got Jewified. It's always been Jewified.
It's ridiculous. It's so ridiculous. This isn't he doesn't know anything about the Christianity. They get their theology from TikTok, from Instagram, from Twitter. It's crazy.
And memes, yeah.
Yeah.
Oxford Press, and so they had the deals that they could make to get that Bible into all the mega churches across whole denominations of Christianity, and so that was when Christianity got kind of Jewified.
The Schofield Reference Bible was edited by Cyrus Schofield and was published in 1901, updated in 1917, and revised then again in 1967. Schofield was not hired by anyone, least of all the Rothschilds. There is simply no tangible evidence of Rothschild investment or financial backing when it comes to the Schofield Reference Bible. And Schofield did not write a new Bible. He produced a study Bible. The text of the Schofield Reference Bible.
Dude, these Christians will always just say it, but they'll never say what they changed. It's like, oh, nobody would think that like Jews were chosen in the Holy Land and the Promised Land and Zion and Israel and Jerusalem. It's like nobody would care. Christians wouldn't care about that if it wasn't for Schofield. Like, what do you mean? You're ignoring the rest of the Bible? Come on.
And what's crazy about it too is it shows that they've never even they're not familiar with the Old Testament at all. The whole point of the Old Testament is the relationship between the Jewish, Hebrew, Israelite, whatever people. Okay, their God and that land. That's the entire purpose of the story. That's the whole. The land is its own character, basically. So what the fuck are we like? What are they talking about? It's the whole thing is about that land. That's the whole story. It's ridiculous. It's like saying, oh, the Avengers isn't even about Iron Man until they made it about Iron Man in the movies. Like, it's stupid.
Yeah. Good analogy.
No tangible evidence of Rothschild investment or financial backing when it comes to the Schofield Reference Bible. And Schofield did not write a new Bible. He produced a study Bible. The text of the Schofield Reference Bible is simply the text of the standard 1769 Blaney revision, translation of the King James Bible. Most of what the Schofield included was already well within the mainstream of American Protestantism at the time, and was of course very strongly influenced by the teachings of John Nelson Darby, part of the Exclusive Brethren movement. There's no evidence that these opinions started with the Schofield Bible, that they were financed by the Rothschilds, or that overt Jewish influence was involved in its backing or production. The study Bible did not invent the idea of Judeo-Christianity or support the modern Israel. It popularized many views that followed Darby's theological perspectives, but this was nothing new. Schofield, like Darby, was an outspoken dispensationalist, and so his study notes reflected that particular theological position. Ian here is simply repeating or making up entirely conspiracy theory that is not reflective of the evidence we actually have and know concerning the Schofield Reference Bible's history, influence, and development.
Okay, all right, another big L. Dude, this video with Ian Carroll on the Hodge twins, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, viral clips of this everywhere. So it's the most popular like religious conspiracy little clip I think I've seen recently. And he just gets wrong on every single thing and doesn't know at all what he's talking about. Great W there.
I've seen multiple versions of this get passed around. I have like a Christian TikTok and a Christian YouTube, and both of them have had that short right there pushed to them. Both of them.
All right. Ian Carroll, so no more of this Christian cope about, oh, Schofield Jewified the Bible and Rothschild. It's literally a lie. The whole Bible's Jewish and fake. Why don't you just say that instead of perpetuating this Christian cope? And now here he is, and we're going to get to Wes Huff's myth. Actually, I want to do this while you're here, okay? Here's his little video he puts out about break the cycle of hate. Listen to how he shills Jesus to try to get everybody to love everybody.
This is the next thing, but this isn't surprising at all. This is the kind of stuff that this is exactly the problem in my view. This is a huge issue.
So not even a Christian, blows up, allowed on like 2 million followers on TikTok, explodes in like 1 year to 1 million followers on Twitter, and now he's shilling Jesus. Not even a Christian, but still shills Jesus. Notices Mr. Conspiracy Guy, but doesn't see any conspiracies in that Jesus is the king of the Jews and gets everybody to worship the God of Israel. No conspiracy there, apparently. He thinks it's a good thing. It's the Satanist. He sits down with Roseanne and goes, oh, it's the Satanist, and yeah, we got to believe in God. It says shit like that.
Yeah, this is like the low version of basically like the most like low IQ 4chan slop from 2016. It's just crazy that he just does this. It's crazy.
I didn't actually plan it this way, but I want to finish the main portion of the show today, taking one from Tucker's book, as Tucker has been expressing some really impressive leadership in the space.
And Tucker's been saying he was attacked by demons, so he reads the Bible, and we can't be collective or tribal or racist or anti-Semitic because we're all Christians. That's his message, basically. He said the solution to racism and anti-Semitism is Christianity. So that's what he's... Right? Tucker's taken the lead. That's the narrative that he's going to be echoing here.
It is so important that you do not start to become the very thing that you are trying to fight against. Okay? It is so important that
Hey, call out Christians for wanting to be spiritual Jews and everybody to bow down to the Messiah then. You're not opposing the Jews when you believe that. Will you call out that angle? No, he says that he's not going to criticize Christians in their spiritual Jewishness.
White people do not start to think that white people are better than everyone else, because that wouldn't make you any better than the Israeli Jews that you have such a problem with for thinking they're better than everyone else. Okay? Let's not repeat the fucking cycles of history, please. Okay? We are all God's people. We are all
That's the entire point of Christianity right here.
We're all God's people made in his divine image. It sounds like what the rabbis say when they're describing how God views the Goyim. And we all...
It's like nuclear. This is like nuclear disarmament for the Goyim. That's what this is. Okay. It's what the power that, what helps drive Jewish power and identity is their otherness, is all the, is basically their racial religion, their ethnic traditions. That's what drives their identity and keeps them going. And what Christianity is doing, as everyone can see, is coming along and doing and saying, oh, if we all just drop that, and it makes it so that everybody in the world drops that, but Jewish people. It is nuclear disarmament for the Goyim. It is not this is how we've destroyed identities over the whole planet, basically. It's completing Tikkun Olam.
Yeah, let's not repeat the cycle. What is he saying? Like, don't be nationalistic or tribal. Believe in Jesus, otherwise it'll be the Nazis again. That's basically what he sounds like right there. He has back-to-back 2 Jewish talking points. Repeat the cycle, and we're all God's children.
Everyone else. Okay? Let's not repeat the fucking cycles of history, please. Okay? We are all God's people. We are all created in his divine image. We are all equal, with equal rights, equal desires and hopes and dreams, equal families, equal ability to just make our lives as best we can, right? That's basic.
I've seen a lot of people criticizing him, saying he's just some leftist that like got into conspiracy theories on TikTok, and I think they're right.
Oh, 100%. I mean, that Ian Malcolm Twitter account is like the same way. They got into this around the time of COVID or whatever, like the COVID era kind of got a lot of these people into conspiracies. They had all this time on their hand, and TikTok blew up and all that stuff. And that's where this guy came from for sure. I had normies showing me this guy as he was getting red pilled because they knew my position on like Jewish power and things like that. And they were sending me videos like, oh, look at this. He's like the base mustache communist guy. He's learning about Jews like you've talked about before. See? So I watched his whole rise from very like early days of TikTok to where he is now. I probably saw one of his very first viral videos talking about this whole thing. So that is exactly who he is. I would compare him politically very similar to like a Jimmy Dore type, if I had to like put him somewhere on the spectrum or whatever.
Mm-hmm. But built into that is this idea that is really hard to apply in principle, especially when there's this pattern going on where there is this group that is affiliated with a foreign state that is doing military covert operations, psyops on our brains every day. And a lot of them are Jews. Like they are. A lot of them are Jews. But if you start doing all Jews, you start to restart the cycle of history. And you don't want to give the Jews ammo for another cycle of this, dude.
I agree with that.
If you're a person that thinks it's all Jews,
I don't think he's wrong about that.
Then you're probably a person that thinks that the Jews have done all these horrible things with all of their incredible power and all their money and legal and all this shit. So don't fucking give them another reason to start over, bro, because they're clearly good at it, right? So let's break that fucking cycle. Because it's obviously not all Jews. Duh. The Crusades weren't all Christians. The Inquisition wasn't all Christians, right?
By the way, he doesn't know anything about the Crusades or the Inquisition. He's never read a single book about it, if you're wondering.
I'm pretty sure, like, I remember him tweeting about Jews killing Jesus. Also, he said the people that killed with the Charlie Kirk
the
thing,
people that killed him. Yeah, it was on like Charlie. It was right before. Remember, it was the Kirk thing. It was like you're allied with the people who killed him. He said that to Kirk like a week before Kirk died.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, he told Charlie Kirk. He replied to Charlie Kirk like shortly before he died that he's like working for the people that killed Jesus. So if you're complaining, if you want to call out like people for saying like Jews are children of the devil and cursed and synagogue of Satan, like that's the Christians. Call out the Christians then, instead of saying Jesus is the solution.
Fucking cycle.
Yeah.
Because it's obviously not all Jews. Duh. The Crusades weren't all Christians. The Inquisition wasn't all Christians, right? There's exceptions to every rule. There's evil Muslims, there's good Muslims. There's fucked up Jews, there's good Jews. The one group where there's no exceptions is pedophiles. They can get fucked. And by fucked, I mean into the dirt, quickly, covered over with a thick layer. Living or dead, doesn't matter to me.
What a brave stance he has.
But don't let him come back out, ever. I hope I'm allowed to say that on YouTube.
Check him out, by the way. Oh, you want to talk about blaming all Jews? Look, he's quoting Revelation 3:9. Come on, Ian. You're gonna get up here and lecture about you're gonna call them God killers and synagogue of Satan, and then lecture us about don't repeat the cycle, and then shill Jesus. Look at that, 6,000 likes too, 6,666 likes. So satanic.
The whole thing is ridiculous. Yeah, this is ridiculous.
Yeah. So of course he does the misrepresents the synagogue of Satan verse too to hype that up. Dude, of course the guy that blows up to millions of followers is shilling the kosher Christian disinfo slop.
Yeah, and I would just say, like, as far as like is it all Jews or whatever? These people should be forced to read Kevin McDonald's book or something. Like, it's not understanding the problem if you don't understand like how I would say like the Jewish evolutionary strategy operates. To sit there and say like, oh, it isn't all Jews. It's like, yeah, that's not what is being talked about at all. We're talking about like a very specific survival strategy that works at the expense of other people, of the host nations. You know what I mean? And in this case, that's us. That's the cycle that needs to end.
Owners of YouTube did like to visit that one island. But, man, whatever. People
Here's the Jesus part.
They'll take what they'll take. Whatever. It's 2025. Y'all know what I mean. Be nice to people. Genuinely. Treat people with respect. Judge people as individuals for their own actions, right? It's really not that fucking complicated. I find that Christianity is a pretty good way to do it. Following Christ pretty much solves it all.
The Jesus grifting, hey, does he want to expose the Jewish religion that's got everybody brainwashed? No, he wants to say that's the solution. Another Jesus is the solution to everything. He'll solve it all. Hey, no more repeating history. No more being tribal or having an identity. We're just all going to believe in Jesus together as in the divine image of God.
It's like it's almost like he's like a Platonist. You know what I mean? Like he's just, oh, well, this is our noble lie. This is what we're going to accept. And, you know, it's better than nothing kind of thing. It's like like this is what Arval believes as well when he was in that space the other night. They have this idea that this is the only morality we'll have, and we're never going to be able to operate without the morality. So we might as well just use this one. It's just totally ridiculous. And it completely ignores that it makes it so that you accept all the Jewish mythology and prophecies.
Yeah. Hey guys, let's stop the Jews by all believing in the King of the Jews.
Yeah. They have this prophecy, right? And they like have greater Israel, and they want to like take it over and like rule it from like a Davidic monarchy. And the way we stop that is we worship the guy who's going to bring about a Davidic monarchy. Like it's just it's so stupid.
Pantrier says, king of the conspiracies, but duped by the biggest ones. Yeah, good point. He sees conspiracies everywhere, but then promotes Jesus, the top rabbi.
It's so ridiculous.
I find that Christianity is a pretty good way to do it.
Not a Christian, but his audience is probably 80%, maybe more Christian. So does he want to rock that boat and lose 80% of his audience and have mobs of Christian calling him Antichrist? And no, of course not. Of course not. I'm not impressed.
Following Christ pretty much solves it all. But if you're averse to following Christ, if that's not your vibe, that's cool. These values are universal. Anyone can do it. Even you, Ben Shapiro, you could figure out how to do it too. You could bring yourself to consider the fact that maybe the lives...
Okay, we don't need to hear anymore. What else do I have?
Is he suggesting that Ben Shapiro convert to Christianity? Like,
I don't think so.
Really, like,
I mean,
super public
even
about
you,
public
Ben Shapiro. It's like just this whole idea is so stupid.
Mm-hmm. Here he is talking about religion.
Webb's book right there on the beginning at the top. You see that?
Yeah.
I do read the Bible, but not religiously, so to speak. Like not like most Christians do. I have my Bible over there. Yeah, my take on religion is it's not something I want to be really like super public about in the public square.
You know why? Because he doesn't want to piss off Christians. Doesn't want to rock the boat of Christians. Doesn't want to anger any Christians. He's just fine with everybody thinking that he's a Christian or maybe going to be a Christian, or he's reading his Bible and he's tweeting about Jesus and he's saying Jesus is the solution of everything. We see what's going on here. This is obvious. This is how these big influencers play it.
Because I'm not an authority on Christianity and I'm not what most people would consider to be like a good Christian. Although I would argue that I'm probably more aligned with God's true commandments and purposes than a lot of fucking fake ass Christians, but we don't need to argue about it.
He's the real Christian.
But I'm certainly no representative of Christianity, and I don't intend to be. So, my beliefs are my own. And I'm sure that someday later down the road, I'll speak more about it. But
someday later, he'll grift Jesus a little harder.
Yeah, speak to God, not priests. Truth. I'm not a fan of the institution of religions, regardless of what religion you're talking about. But but I'm a
hate that
huge
cop
fan
out.
of
So-
faith.
I know.
I think it's one of the most important things that we need to build back in America, and I think it's the number one thing that we lost that has weakened our culture dramatically and has allowed for all this shit to happen. So
faith, and we need Christianity to solve it. Basically, there's your take.
That's very cool.
I do.
Yep, and he just sat down with Dave. We won't do this whole thing. I haven't watched it yet. I guess I'll watch it on my own. But he sat down with Dave Smith and Liberty. What is this guy's name? Clint Russell. And remember, he was just with Fuentes, and he was like, yeah, we need you to be Christian first. Christian identity, not like white identity. Christian identity. That's what we really need. He's promoting the same thing. And I think that's what they're talking about in this, too.
And people who are pretty pissed
all
off
of them
with
are
Jews.
doing that. All of what I would call the mainstream alternative media. Every single one of them is doing the Christian thing in some way or shape or form.
Okay, I think we're going to go to Wes Huff now, back on the mythicism thing, since we're an hour in. Where is it? I also got this, too. I got to do it. The next show, maybe, will be all these new clips from Pastor Anderson's church.
Yeah,
this pastor, have you been watching these?
Yeah. This guy's crazy. Dude all saw this guy, and I brought up some of his things, and then my Christian account started getting recommended some, and I have him on my watch later as well, because this guy goes off. It's perfect.
Dude, he goes on these like anti-racist rants. This is supposed to be like the based Christian too, right? Everybody thinks, oh, but Pastor Anderson, most based. Listen to what they're saying about racial issues. It's pretty revealing to being true Christians. By the way, they're just actually having the consistent Christian view. This guy is this take he has on race in Christianity is accurate to Christianity. But stay tuned for that next time. Let's find the Wes Huff on Piers Morgan and some of these. Dude, where is it?
I bet you. Did you see Piers Morgan might have Nick on? I bet you that Piers Morgan is going to appeal to Nick's Christianity too. That's what this whole thing that's going on right now is that.
Here it is.
The Hodge twins too. They keep having Christians on. It's just Christian.
Nobody to call out the elephant in the room. Here it is. So with Piers Morgan, Wes Huff, remember he was a nobody. He had one debate with some conspiracy kook, and then he got on Joe Rogan and Patrick Bet-David and the whole Rogan Sphere podcast network. He blew up overnight, and he's some Christian apologist that they're acting like is the top scholar. And here he is on Piers Morgan now, crushing rapid fire questions about Jesus. 1 million views a month ago. We're going to review these questions. Brilliance.
It just shows that aesthetics matter. That's why almost everyone has him on the show. I'm telling you right now, just because he he works out, he looks nice, and he speaks nice. That's all that matters. That's all that matters to these people. That stuff matters. Like the aesthetics matter. Oh, is it broken?
Yeah. This should be good. I watched the first minute and I said, oh, I got to play this on the show.
I wish this guy would debate Neil.
Disputable to you.
Oh, I was going to say that earlier. These Christians will come in our replies and they'll be like, you won't debate Wes Huff. Like, Wes Huff would destroy you in a debate. It's like, dude, this person that tells me this, like, thinks whites are the real Israelites, Jesus wasn't Jewish, and, like, the Schofield Bible hijacked everything. Like, you might as well debate him. You'd go lose to a debate in this guy because he doesn't agree. He confirms everything we're saying.
Yeah, I get that same person that you're talking about that just like, in every one of my replies tells me, oh, you're afraid to debate Wes Huff, and like tags Grok and asks how often has Needmore Amalek agreed to debate Wes Huff and all this other stuff. Wes Huff and for that matter, Jay Dyer would agree. We could literally just go through point by point and they would affirm almost everything we were saying. Okay. They just think it's a good thing, guys. That's the difference here. So Wes Huff,
it's real and it's a good thing.
Yeah, exactly. Oh yeah, a Davidic Messiah will conquer the world. His name is Jesus, and that's a good thing.
Yeah, and he is Jewish. And we're spiritual Jews. Exactly. All right, here we go.
Is it indisputable to you that Jesus Christ existed?
Jesus Christ actually existed, actually walked this world, did predict his own death and resurrection, and then if you could have a camera running on the tomb in and around 33 AD, that an actual Jesus would have walked out on the third day after his crucifixion and burial.
Now again,
come on.
In this powerful interview,
see, just so you know, that's how kooky his position is. So when he's given his opinions on Jesus definitely existed, it's every scholar agrees, and you can't even question it, and we know for sure, and it's a, keep in mind, this guy also thinks you could set up a camera and zombie Jesus is going to walk out through the wall of the tomb. So he's out of his mind. Zombie European rabbi.
Morgan speaks with Wes Huff, a Christian scholar and the Vice President of Apologetics Canada, asking rapid-fire questions about the historical Jesus, his claim to be God, and the evidence for his resurrection. Wes answers with brilliance and boldness, tackling some of the most difficult questions skeptics have ever raised about Christ.
What's interesting about your perspective on this, from your history and your studying, is that you believe a lot of the New Testament is unarguably factually true.
I do, yeah, and I think that that's demonstrable from the actual evidence that we can look at.
Is it?
What's the evidence? I read it in a book. That's it.
Disputable to you that Jesus Christ existed, for example?
Oh, definitely so. I think we can say pretty unequivocally that a character, a first century Jewish itinerant rabbi by the name of Jesus.
Rabbi, go debate him, E-Crusaders. Here's your guy.
Oh, Rabbi, my teacher, Adam.
Yeah.
Rabbi, my teacher.
Yeah, a Jewish teacher of the Jewish Torah in synagogues.
So stupid.
Of Nazareth did walk the dusty streets of first century Roman occupied Judea. I think that even the most skeptical scholars will grant that if we know very little about Jesus, we know that he did exist. And
no, the most skeptical scholars, the honest scholars, say that it looks like he didn't exist. You're lying, dude. That is a lie to say the most skeptical scholars agree. What do you mean, Bart Ehrman? Oh, even the most secular skeptical scholars, like Bart Ehrman, even says he existed. Like, enough of this shit. Notice the first thing he says is, oh, everybody agrees. They always go right to everybody agrees, the appeal to consensus.
Dude, this Apologetics Canada that he works for has so many views on YouTube. This is crazy.
Yeah. Yep. Right to the top.
Century Roman occupied Judea.
Because there's nothing they fear more.
Even the most skeptical scholars will grant that if we know very little about Jesus, we know that he did exist and that he was crucified in and around the beginning of the first century under the overseeing of the governor of Judea, Pontius Pilate. Jesus Christ actually existed, actually walked this world, did predict his own death and resurrection, and then if you could have a camera running on the tomb in and around 33 AD,
what a kooky claim.
An actual Jesus would have walked out on the third day after his crucifixion and burial.
See, that is the...
Dude, imagine saying that with a straight face and like trying to be taken seriously.
It's so
and really was born a virgin, and the snake really talked, and the water really. It's like he thinks everything in the Bible. The animals marched 2 by 2 onto the ark. If you had a camera, you would have seen it. Come on.
It's so it's so ridiculous too because he's like a biblical literalist in a lot of ways, and I've been following a lot of the liberal scholars of the Bible. I have infinitely more respect for these liberal guys who basically accept many of our positions and some biblical minimalism, and they understand that there's edits and all this other stuff. Those guys at least are trying to deal with their religion and the reality in an authentic way. This guy is just totally fake. He's completely lying to himself and others about what is in there because it is upholding what he's oh, it's for the greater good. That's how he justifies this. If I didn't do this, then people would be evil. And now he can justify anything he wants, including lying, which he's doing.
The crux of this, isn't it, is that whether Jesus of Nazareth was resurrected really goes to the absolute essence and heart of Christianity. Because obviously, if he was...
Yoga sent $10 clearly now. We can see.
We can see. We can. Everybody else doesn't.
Yoga.
I Hoach sent $10 on Rumble.
First-time dollar up order here, following you quietly for about 3 years.
Thank you.
Curious
About
if
time.
Jesus Christ was truly born of a virgin. He lacked the Y male chromosome and would mean he is a woman and trans man. Yes.
That would explain the virgin and blue balls, maybe.
Parisia Times sent $5 on Rumble. If you don't contribute to the goal, you have a small hat. These are the rules. I don't make them.
Sounds about right to me. I've had it turned off the whole show. Just got it turned on. First class. Has Pierce ever had on, by the way, anybody to talk about how Jesus is
clearly
fake?
now. We can see.
Okay, I don't know why that played again.
To the absolute essence and heart of Christianity.
Rochelle sent $5. It's not the Jewish God that's Jewish. It's the darn Rothschild.
Yeah, the Rothschilds made God Jewish.
Gookie Lips sent $10. If you are in a room 5 Jews and 5 Christians, does that mean you're the only non-Jew in the room?
Yes, absolutely. All right. Thanks, guys. Keep them coming.
If he was, then that is a miracle. And then everyone that believes in Christianity and what it all stands for and Jesus and everything would feel validated by the fact, well, how else do you explain it? So it's at the crux of it. From the text of the New Testament, then, where is the actual hard evidence for you as an historian that actually happened?
Yeah, I think we do, Pierce, have a historical question in terms of we have an actual character who we can demonstrate that lived, and then we have that same character being demonstrated in multiple independent and cross-reference sources, chief of which we call the Gospels, Matthew, Mark, Luke.
Come on, sir. His proof is the Gospels, guys. The obvious, fictional, written like a play, supposedly decades after the fact, expanding on and based on the epistles and James and Peter and these books like that, independently attested in the New Testament. The gospel is not written by eyewitnesses, and every part of it is fulfilling some prophecy. That's his great evidence. He goes, "What's your proof that the Gospels are real?" And he goes, "Well, we have the Gospels." That was really what he said. I read it in a book.
I read about it.
It's
in a book.
It's so, and then I just linked his his infographics. You brought him up before, I think, at least related to Jesus. But I just put the one in that he's got on the very top of his page where he.
Paul Slow sent $10. Invite Zionist next time.
Invite what Zionist?
Oh, Zionist cuck. He thinks he means Zionist cuck. Yeah, look, like he has that. I just put the infographic in the channel. He has that same like an infographic where the whole thing is just circularly reasoning on the Bible itself. That's on his website.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the way you sent it, it doesn't really let me pull it up big.
John, but just because those are religious texts now doesn't necessarily negate that they are historical texts. These were independent written sources that come from the time.
Dude, they're not independent. How is he lying like this? All the scholars know that he just appealed to the synoptic problem and Mark and priority. The first gospel's Mark. Matthew expanded on that, and then Luke knew Matthew and Mark. And then John comes later. So saying that they're all independent and acting like these are multiple sources is bullshit. It's bullshit.
Yeah, but like it was crafted on 3 continents: Asia, Africa, and Europe. It's reliable and transmitted correctly. Thousands of early Christian citations repeated it over and over and didn't change a single word.
Yep.
He's ridiculous. This is like clown world.
Yep.
Frame. If we want to know about someone from the ancient world or history in general, we go to the earliest sources, preferably eyewitness sources. And I think that's what we have within the Gospels.
You have no eyewitness sources in the
Thor's
Gospels.
Rune sent $10 on Rumble, paying my Goy tax.
Thank you, Thor's Rune.
So we have a character who lived, who died, and then a character who is said by an early Jesus community to have been resurrected. And the accounts of that are not just kind of scant. They're not seeing Jesus off from afar as some sort of...
Hold on. They're not scant, really? Like a couple of Jews claiming they saw a vision of a zombie Jesus, and you're convinced by this? Oh, well, they died because of it. People die for lies and kooky stuff and delusions all the time, and most likely these Christian persecution is exaggerated and made up mythologies much later.
I like how he tries to play it off like the argument is that distance, like, oh, they were too far away to see Jesus. Like, that's almost like what he's arguing here. Like, what? As if that's an argument by anybody.
Apparition or something like that. What we have is the case of instances of the early Jesus community saying they walked with him, they talked with him, they ate with him, and this happened.
Dude, Paul, Hebrews, James, 1st and 2nd Peter, none of them talk about walking and eating with a figure at all. That's not until the Gospels, historicized in the Gospel. The earliest layers of the Bible have none of that. He's absolutely wrong. Paul never says, "Oh, Peter told me he was walking with Jesus and Jesus taught him this and Jesus did this miracle." Paul doesn't say that ever. Not
the
once.
The earliest instances of Jesus we have is flying around in outer space. Like, what is he talking about?
Yeah, ascension of Isaiah is what you're referring to.
Yeah.
For people that might not know what you're talking about there. Yeah. So he's just every single thing he says is a lie, is an apologist lie.
Over the course of, as Luke in his combination, the Gospel of Luke and Acts, says over the course of 40 days. This wasn't a short event. And so there were as many as, Paul says, up to 500 witnesses who took part in this event before.
Oh, this event. One person, Paul, who never knew Jesus, claims 500 people saw Jesus at once. And imagine thinking that's good proof. One guy claiming that 500 people saw something. But nobody else wrote about this outside of the Bible, of course. And the vision, the appearance to the 500 is only mentioned by Paul once, and it's not in the Gospels.
Right, yeah. And
pretty important thing to leave out of the Gospels if that really happened, right? The best proof.
Yeah, and then he got hung up with Gnostic informant when he was lying about the ending of Mark, saying, you know what I mean, that whole thing. That goes back to the very early thing, the earliest versions we have. So he even knows that their eyewitness accounts were added later on.
Hail_Apollo sent $5 on Rumble. Need more Amalek should be daily co-host. Great show, guys.
Yeah, he can, if he wants to, he can come a lot more. I thought he liked to enjoy and watch and be entertained by the show, but he can chime in a lot more. Look at this, guys. 24,000 thumbs up and 1 million views on this in a month. And he's pumped don't tell me there's nothing they fear more when this guy and so many like him are mainstreamed and boosted everywhere. Oh, they're trying to destroy Christianity. That's why they got this guy here spouting this stuff on Joe Rogan and Piers Morgan and everywhere.
Resurrecting, going to the ascension of the right hand of the Father.
Yes, TJ for 50. Thank you.
Thank you both for what you do and keep it up. Looking forward to both your books.
You mean mine and Amalek's?
Yeah,
or that I have 2 books. Okay. All right. Thank you, TJ.
He's talking about mine. Yeah.
Amalek read the first couple chapters of my book last night. He's the first person to take a look at it, and I thought it was pretty
awesome.
Good. Checking it out.
Yeah,
rereading it.
I'm so excited to get through the whole thing. It's awesome. It's going to be awesome when it comes out. I can't wait for all the
argument
stuff we're going to do with it.
That Paul the Apostle wasn't there for the resurrection himself, and there's no other reference really other than I think the 1 Corinthians chapter 15. There's only one other reference to the fact that 500 people witnessed this.
Nice.
Does any of that in your eyes put more doubt on it?
I don't think so, because I think when we look at something that we can try to historiographically explain, we look at the various explanations and then we account for the data. So you're correct in the sense that 1 Corinthians 15 is the only place that's mentioned where we talk about these 500 witnesses who saw Jesus all at once. However, when you corroborate those with the accounts that we find particularly in Matthew, Luke, and John, I think it does explain especially when you have the instance at the ascension in Matthew and Luke, that those 500 people could have been the individuals on the mount when Jesus ascended. Even the fact that we have one instance.
This is the cope for why it doesn't mention the 500 seeing it anywhere else. Insane.
Of this being spoken about. And then we can look at the individuals, Matthew, Mark, Luke, John, and then others in the New Testament documents that talk about the resurrection of Jesus, that, even James, the brother of Jesus, in the Epistle of James, referring to his brother as our glorious Lord, a title that
He doesn't even call himself his brother in that book. James has the perfect opportunity to say, I am the brother. He shows no indication of knowing an earthly Jesus or being the brother of an earthly Jesus. And instead of acknowledging that fact, he lies and says this. I haven't watched the whole thing yet. I'm just astonished by how bad this is.
James, the brother of Jesus, in the Epistle of James, referring to his brother as our glorious Lord, a title that is attributed only to the God of Israel, Yahweh. So I think we have to explain these particular instances where we don't just have people who are friendly to this happening, but we have individuals who are actually hostile. In James, the brother of Jesus, who the Gospels tell us that Jesus' family was actually very hesitant in how public Jesus.
He's calling the book of James a hostile source. Are you fucking kidding me? I can't even believe I'm hearing this.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. The other thing too isn't the 500? Isn't that
Monkey
Pauline?
Man sent
That's
$5. Have you ever noticed how big Nick's
That's not
fingers
even in the
are and how small Candace's head is? What do you think it means?
I've never noticed that, and I have no idea. What were you saying?
The 500, doesn't that come from Paul's letter? Isn't that isn't that in Corinthians or Thessalonians?
Yeah.
That's not even in the Gospels. Like, what is he even what is he talking about that is a historical like it's almost like he's counting the 500 witnesses as 500 individual claims of evidence, when really what it is it's just like a passage, it's just a claim by Paul in Corinthians. I think it's Corinthians.
It's 1 Corinthians. Yeah, I think 1 Corinthians 15. Yeah, well, he just acknowledged that. Pierce was like, it only says that once in Paul, and he never knew that and knew Jesus. And he goes, well, the 500 could have been there in Matthew and the ascension of in Mark. Like, come on, dude.
It's so it's such a
It was a
ridiculous,
cope.
like conspiracy. It's a conspiracy leap. Like it's a huge leap to do that.
Oh, he's convinced though. He thinks that's good proof.
Then we have likewise Paul, who started his life as a persecutor, and that has a radical 180 in terms of him then going on and writing the majority of Holy Scripture within the New Testament.
Now, again,
And he never knew an earthly Jesus, and he was a Pharisee. But he thinks this is such a good argument. Oh, Paul, who wrote the majority of the New Testament, he never knew Jesus and said he didn't learn about him from any man, but only from revelation in Scripture.
play devil's advocate.
Please, push back.
The argument against it goes, look, all these witnesses were likely to have been pretty primitive, mostly illiterate people. Eyewitness testimony notoriously is unreliable. It's the least credible.
He's going to say they died. They martyred for it.
Days,
Watch.
for example. And since the historical method doesn't deal with miracles, it's ridiculous, people say, to base any history on it. And even Matthew's gospel tells us when Jesus appeared in front of his 11 disciples, some of them doubted, to which people say, well, if even not all his disciples believe this, why on earth should we?
Insulgator sent $5 on Rumble. I've read the Bible, and the more I read, the more questions. I have read and forgot more than these guys have regurgitated BS from their mouths. If we don't speak up, they will just keep leading.
I know. It's unforgivable that this has gone on for so long. James says he's his servant of God and the Lord Jesus Christ. Never anywhere in the book of James does it talk about him being the brother of Jesus or even identifying Jesus as an earthly figure.
I don't understand why he says that it's a hostile source too. What is he talking about?
I know. He's like, the Gospels say that James didn't believe right away, so it's a hostile source. It's like, dude, it's his brother. Are you kidding me?
That's like treating Paul like a hostile source or something. Like, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, I thought they were going to say like when he said hostile source, I thought he was going to say Josephus or the Talmud or something, but he said James.
Yeah, it's so weird.
It's so bad.
A few things going on there. In terms of the historical method and how we actually evaluate things, we only have witness testimony. You do have something that's very
No, you actually don't have any witness testimony. Like you just said, Paul didn't witness Jesus in his life.
Than a courtroom in a modern legal setting, right? Even something like hearsay. Well, all of ancient history in one sense is hearsay, but that doesn't apply when we apply it to the historiographical method. We need to use the same standards that when we would look at something like, say, the biographies of Tiberius with Velleius Paterculus, Tacitus, Suetonius, and Cassiodeo. When we have multiple instances of reporting on someone's life, we look at both the things that they agree on and the things maybe where they have a different...
So he name drops a bunch of names, neglects to say that they're all late, not contemporary, all of them born after Jesus would have lived and died. And then he's going to ignore that these are after the Gospels, and they could just be commenting on what they heard from Christians or what they knew in the Gospels of the story of Jesus. This is the best they have, dude. It's so bad. This is top apologist, guys, and everything he says is wrong.
Differentiation in detail.
I was just thinking about this. I bet you he doesn't even know what like the Bayesian analysis is.
Yeah, I bet you he doesn't know most of the mythicist arguments, actually.
Yeah, I bet you if he got like a super chat and it was like, hey, what do you think of the of Bayesian analysis on mythical or on like, historical figures or whatever? He would say, oh, I don't even know that. I wonder what he knows about that. Because I do that all the time when people say, oh, you're a Reddit atheist. I've seen those arguments. They're even top scholars disagree. I just ask them, do you know what the what the Bayesian analysis is? And almost every time they say they give some sort of code, or they have no idea because they aren't actually familiar with the argument.
So look, by the way, too, he wants to just to show you how bad this is, and him citing this chapter, acting like it's solid proof that Jesus definitely existed. Look at what this actually says in 1 Corinthians 15. Paul says what the gospel he preaches to you, which he received, which he explains elsewhere that receiving the gospel, he received it from revelation in Scripture. He says not from any man. He did not learn it from any man, no oral tradition. He wasn't an eyewitness, didn't learn it from eyewitnesses. He got it. Look at what he says. For what I received, I passed on to you, that Christ died for our sins according to the Scriptures. He knows this because he read Isaiah 53. That he was buried and he was raised on the third day according to he knows because of the Scriptures. He's not saying that Jesus did this as the Scriptures said they would. His knowledge of this happening is from the Scriptures. And that he appeared to Peter and then the 12, and after that appeared to more than 500 of the brothers and sisters at the same time, most of whom are still living, though some have fallen asleep. Then he appeared to James, then to all the apostles, and then he appeared to me also. So it literally is talking about the Scriptures. They're heavenly visions. He says when he received the revelation of the mystery, he's caught up into the third heaven, like an ascension mystical experience. And from reading the Scriptures, this is where it comes from. And he wants to cite this and say, 500 people really saw him, so we know it. We know he's real. This is as good as it gets, guys. The Bart Ehrman video he was on with an interview with Jacob Berman from History Valley, the shit he says is the worst in that. It's all, they have nothing.
Says?
Bart Ehrman on History Valley.
They posted. I saw. I saw the first like 30 or 40 minutes. I couldn't take it anymore.
So bad.
And we try to the best of our ability explain.
He's doing the same thing this guy's doing right now.
Some of the different instances that are going on. Now, I would say, to the accusation, well, these are just ancient, illiterate people. That's what C.S. Lewis referred to as chronological.
No. Again, this is like a straw man. I don't think they were illiterate. I think they were very educated and creative and very literate. Clearly, the people that came up with these myths. So that's wrong again right there. Already getting the things wrong.
Of our ability.
Yeah, well, having like your prophet or the person that's like receiving God's word being illiterate is like a trope in this genre of literature.
Right.
And you see it carry over to Islam.
Mm-hmm. Good point.
Some of the different instances that are going on. Now, I would say, to the accusation, well, these are just ancient, illiterate people. That's what C.S. Lewis referred to as chronological snobbery. Just because people are ancient neither means they're stupid nor that they don't know what's going on. And what we have in terms of this event is really early on after Jesus' death, we have an explanation of what if the resurrection didn't take place, what we would expect. The 11 disciples are hiding in the upper room. They're scared. They're aware of other messianic movements in the ancient world. Individuals like Simon Bar-Giora, who claimed to be the Messiah when his movement was squashed. So when he died, his movement was squashed. And so I think we have to look at, okay, what explains these 11 scared disciples then going on to not just proclaim that Jesus did rise from the dead, but actually went to the point of risking their lives in persecution. And some of them did die for that proclamation. And so I think it's not outside of the realm of possibility for history to actually be able to evaluate this evidence and say, okay, we have these questions. How then do we explain something like an empty tomb or even Jesus's disciples?
They made up the empty tomb. That's how you explain it, dude. How do we explain it? He really thinks the empty tomb is real. Funny enough, Paul never mentions the betrayal of Judas or the empty tomb or born of a virgin or the Star of Bethlehem. None of that stuff in the greatest, most prolific author of the New Testament, by the way. None of that stuff.
Disciples go back, and the account of the Pentecost happens in Jerusalem. So Jesus' disciples go back to the scene of the crime in the town where people would have saw him crucified, and now they're proclaiming he's resurrected. Well, why would you go back to the place where people could have actually known what actually happened, especially if you're trying to be disingenuous or dishonest? And then that's where it happens. And Stephen is the first martyr. That also happens in Jerusalem. That would have been a warning shot across the bow for the disciples if they wanted to continue on proclaiming these things. They would have realized that this is controversial.
So he's appealing to the myth of Stephen to argue that it's all real because he's persecuted in the story. Like, as if every other religion doesn't have their martyrdom myths.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I'll just show like
Gentile
Candida Moss's book, The Myth of Persecution, is just fantastic. Her interviews that go over this topic. Go ahead.
Trevgus sent $5 on Rumble. They stole it all from European paganism. I can prove that in 20 minutes. It's not profound if you study the occult and know history. Gnostics are even worse, those guys.
Yeah, Old Testament and New Testament heavily incorporated stuff from pagan religions, definitely. You don't need 20 minutes to prove it to me. I've seen it proved in spades. You were saying something there, Amalek?
I was just saying like you're right. The Myth of Persecution by Candida Moss book, it just goes over all of these. Like the super chat was just saying too. It just doesn't take a lot to go through and debunk why a lot of them are completely made up, full cloth pagan stories, and others are based on real people who were not being persecuted as Christians, but they were stories about a lot of times pagans that were reappropriated as about for Christians and things like that. And then on top of that, some of them are even, basically like Christians being persecuted for being Jews is what's happening. The Romans are persecuting them for being a messianic, apocalyptic cult of Jews, and they're being persecuted on that basis, not because they have the
it was prosecuted, not persecuted.
A
lot of the times too. It wasn't because they believed in Jesus, it was because they were subverting or breaking some other law or something. Or just completely mythological and made up in later apocryphal texts is where a lot of these martyrdom stories come from, 100 years after the fact, and are obviously made up from uncredible sources. All right, here we go.
To be proclaiming these things, to be declaring Jesus as Lord. One of the earliest confessions of Christianity was Jesus is Lord, when the society was saying Caesar is Lord. And so there were risks politically, there were risks religiously, and yet the disciples go on to proclaim these things, even to the detriment of their own lives.
Imagine being able to build.
Nobody ever takes a risk.
Just by thinking about it. Meet Base 44.
What do you say when people say, well, look, there are parts of the New Testament that allude to Jesus as now has been the Son of God, and then there are parts where he
Here we get some Trinity pill pull now.
Himself. How do you counter that argument that there's an inconsistency there?
Yeah, so Son of God is a title that is reserved for not differentiating Jesus from God. You know, in John's gospel in particular, we have instance where Jesus is referring to himself as the Son of God in a way that actually has the Jews picking up stones to stone him. And when he says, you know, what are these good works are you going to stone me for? They say not for your good works, but because you call Jesus your Father, making yourself equal with God. And, you know, Jesus then, he doesn't say, oh, no, you've misunderstood me. You know, my Muslim friends like to point out that there are multiple sons of God throughout the Bible. David was referred to as a son of God. But what's unique is that despite there being, sometimes my Muslim friends like to say sons by the tons, despite that reality, that Jesus is not claiming to be a son of God, he's claiming to be the Son of God in a unique way that not only puts him on equal footing with the Father, but in this monotheistic context of ancient Judaism, actually ascribes to himself honors, attributes, names, and deeds that only God himself has the right to hold. And so the Jews throughout the New Testament, throughout Jesus's ministry and his goings on, they aren't confused by the things he says. You know, when he, at the beginning of Mark's gospel, when he forgives the sins of a person, their response is, who can forgive sins but God alone?
He says the Son of Man
exactly
can.
Right. Only God can forgive our sins. And so Jesus is in his kind of answer saying, you know, I'm doing this so that you know that the Son of Man can forgive sins. It's not a correction. That's a reframing in saying, yes, you're right. Only God can forgive sins. That's what I'm doing. Who does that make me?
I've seen Ricky Gervais on various...
Okay, next question from Pierce right here for Wes Huff.
All right, man, I need to ask you something, and I need you to tell me the truth. Are you a fag?
Talk shows. He's one of the world's most famous atheists. And he says, look, there are 3,000 gods if you add them all up from all the religions. You know, who's to say your one's the real one? And what about the others then? Do they not exist? Are they not?
He's going to appeal to prophecy.
In other words, his position is, look, you can't all be right unless there are 3,000 different versions of a supernatural, spiritual being.
Such a Reddit question.
Overseeing us all. What do you say to him?
Yeah, well, I think it's a rather foolish argument in that competition doesn't negate objective reality. So say we're using a courtroom analogy. If someone was convicted of a crime here in the city of Toronto where I live, and he stood before a judge and he said, really, you think I committed this crime? Do you know how many people are in the city? We have 3 million people in this city. And you think I'm the one who did the crime? Really? Out of all the, you know, how many people are in Toronto? How many people
what
are
we talking about
How many
here?
people are in Canada? How many people are in North America? You really think that given the amount of people that are on this earth, I'm the one who committed the crime? You know, we wouldn't then look at the judge and say, well, that's a good argument. You know, have you really thought about how many other people are around who?
Dude, this is making my brain fry.
Real quick before, this is incredibly stupid. Real quick though, I just thought about this because I thought this was how this worked. I just looked it up, and this is true. In Hebrew, there is no article the or a distinction like he's talking about. So this only works in Greek. This whole
a god or the god is like a anachronistic Greek translation only. That's funny.
Yeah, it's just Ben Elohim. That's all it is, right? So it's not, you know, the Son of God or a Son of God distinction. So the idea that that this is like an intentional thing that they're doing, it only works in like for Hellenized Jews. So just once again shows that the creators of Christianity just were bad Hebrew, like they just didn't have sophisticated Hebrew understanding.
Dude, what are we even doing with this analogy here about like the question is, the point of it is Like, how do you know that your God is real, but all the other gods not? What proof do you have that yours is real and it's not just a myth like all the others? And then he's given this whole analogy, and the point's going completely over his head. It's like a non-answer.
You think committed the crime? Really? Well, no, we don't just arbitrarily, pick someone, or in the case of Christianity, pick a God. We believe that the God of the Bible is the true God based on the evidence of not just what we find in the Bible, but, the fine-tuning of the universe, of the morality.
Dude, what does fine-tuning of the universe have to do with proving the Christian God is true? Again, it's like he doesn't even get how illogical his answer is. Any god, Thor and Odin could be the creators of the universe, and they fine-tuned it. So how do you prove that it's Yahweh?
Yeah, the whole thing, it's so ridiculous. They do that. I mean, this is like ancient apologetics. It's not even good new apologetics. He's basically taking like very old apologetics from the early centuries of Christianity, and he's just like bringing it forward in the modern context instead of reformatting them for like a modern audience that has the internet. It's just I can't believe it is shocking how this is seemingly working.
Chat's asking, does he put on his Christ Crusader helmet? You bet he does. He swings swords around. He's the total LARPer. He puts on the helmet and swings swords around like he's a soldier of Yahweh. Not even Dyer worthy. The Dyer in drag. That's funny. No, this is the best of the best, guy. This is the top. This is the top G. Look at this headline: 1 million views. Just crushes rapid fire brilliance. Dude, we're so cooked.
This is all over TikTok, all over Instagram, all over this gets so many views on Facebook, millions and millions of views.
No, but we're the one that are Mossad's behind us and
any day
botting us.
Christians are waking up, dude.
Yeah.
In the objective reality of this world, and the fact that we are, Pierce, people who operate with morals, with meaning and intention, and have intrinsic worth. But we look at these things and we don't arbitrarily pick Yahweh, the God of the Bible, over Zeus and Thor and Allah and Buddha. We do it, I would argue, based on the concrete, publicly available evidence that,
like what
claims that I would argue,
like what
answers in regards to the ultimate questions we have.
This is the very question every human must face. Was Jesus real? Did he truly die and rise again for the sins of the world? What hangs in the balance is eternal life or eternal separation from God. In a culture clouded by doubt,
I'm sure we'll get the truth from you on that question then.
Clarity, answering with confidence, humility, and scholarly precision. His word
precision.
Christ is not blind belief, but reason anchored in truth, history, and revelation.
Revelation.
One undeniable conclusion: the tomb is empty and
undeniable. So bad. From an Asian account, Asian Christian account too. Okay, bruh. I only watched the first few minutes of that. That's even worse than I imagined. Check out Elon shilling Jesus too, because there's nothing they hate more. Rogan, Alex Jones, Elon, Charlie Kirk, John. I mean, everybody's shilling Jesus now.
I believe in the teachings of Christ. I believe, that he's like. I believe in the Christian principles. Love thy neighbor. I believe in turn the other cheek, which is very important to have forgiveness. Because if you don't have forgiveness, then you have an endless cycle of retribution.
Hey, listen to this. Taste of Truth says he interviewed Fitzgerald, the author of Nailed, and he's so progressive, it's intense. And he says he mentioned Scorbina, and he went off. I definitely want to see that. Taste of Truth. Get me that link. Tag me, email me, whatever you got to do. Send me that link. I want to watch that.
Doesn't surprise me. Yeah, it doesn't surprise me at all.
And speaking of that, we're going to get to Carrier here. And dude, there's so many. Look at how bad this is a big account on Instagram. I saw 378,000 followers. Yeah. Watch this. Oh, shit. Hold on. We got to refresh.
I have a friend who sends me these videos all the time.
Watch this one.
Walking around on planet Earth. The person that is described in this.
This is so bad.
Historical person walking around on planet Earth. The person that is described in this Bible here is purely a fictitious storybook character.
There's over 25,000 manuscripts proving that Jesus Christ was a real historical figure.
Dude, This is Case for Christ
one.
tier. 25,000 manuscripts. He's talking about like 3rd century, 4th century Latin translations where they had the monks copying all these things hundreds of years after the events. That does not prove Jesus historically existed. We got thousands of manuscripts. You'll see this tweet sometimes too. The worst of the worst Christian apologetics. Jim Bro Copes, right?
I've seen them argue that Tacitus must have had access to records, and that's what he's referring to. So it may, if I'm just going to steel man it, maybe that's what he would be referring to. But that's ridiculous too.
No,
he doesn't reference those. First of all, and second of all, he would have right. He would have cited those, and they're also still too late.
Yeah, they're late. They're way after they're copies of copies of copies. And this is in Case for Christ documentary. He goes and visits some guy and he goes, we've got thousands of manuscripts, but they're way later. And also, we have no 1st century original manuscripts of anything. Even like, I think late 1st century, there's like, they have a little like credit card. There's like one letter on it or something like you don't even have complete manuscripts until way later, hundreds of years after the fact. Appealing to the quantity of manuscripts hundreds of years later is the most irrational, illogical argument you can make.
And it's not like these manuscripts say like, oh, and on Tuesday we crucified a guy that was called Jesus Christ who claimed to be God. That's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about
the gospel, Matthew,
of the gospels. And in those gospels that we have in these fragments or whatever, we see evolution within them. Iteration within them. I mentioned earlier the ending of what is it, Mark or Matthew? I always mix it up. Which one has
Mark?
Mark, yeah. The ending of Mark is added way later, so we have manuscripts that don't have the ending of Mark. We have many versions of that, and it just makes sense. Look, we're talking about scribal transmission over generations. Obviously it's going to change.
Look, first comment, 500 likes. Most documented historical figure, by the way. This is like saying there's thousands of copies of Batman on DVD, so it's real. Like that's the level of the logic, the argument they're making here.
And then we got
the first manuscripts being found with.
Yeah, even atheist historians know he was. You're right, Bart Ehrman. Right after, you're right. Here, let's go here. Everything he says is completely wrong on this.
Historical person walking around on planet Earth. The person that is described in this Bible here is purely a fictitious storybook character.
There's over 25,000 manuscripts proving that Jesus Christ was a real historical figure. The first manuscripts being found within the 1st century. That means less than 100 years after the time of Christ, they found the first manuscripts proving that Christ was a real person.
There's no full manuscripts 100 years after Jesus lived. Not one. Totally wrong.
Also,
and he's just reading from ChatGPT probably, or just from some like Case for Christ footnotes.
Josephus, Tacitus, Suetonius, all Roman and Jewish historians within the 1st and 2nd century talk about Jesus Christ,
talk about Christians believing in Jesus.
Events, his life, where he was from, his followers, and that he was crucified under Roman crucifixion.
And none of those were alive to see Jesus. This is all... Josephus is a fake. Tacitus is... 70, 80 years after the fact, and after the Gospels are written and Christians were already starting to spread. He was aware of a cult that believed in Jesus. It's not proof of a historical Jesus living.
The overwhelming consensus of modern historians and scholars and...
You want to take that one?
No, keep going. Keep playing it.
Consensus. The consensus right away. The consensus. Even Bart Ehrman.
It's just... That's all. Bart Ehrman's book is like 40 to 50% just that appeal to consensus, as if in any way we are in any way arguing that consensus doesn't exist. They just
the majority of Christian scholars say that Jesus definitely existed.
Oh, can you believe it? The entire field that revolves around the idea that Jesus existed protects the idea that Jesus existed. Can you guys believe that? Holy shit! Yeah. It's surprising.
Throughout history has been conclusive that Jesus was a real person. That is undeniable. If you want to debate...
Undeniable. So he appeals to Bart Ehrman's appeal to consensus fallacy and then says it's undeniable. He gets two things wrong, appeal to consensus, and now it's undeniable.
If he was God, a person, or a prophet, then you can debate that. But to deny that he was a real historical figure is just straight retardation. To put it into perspective...
I love how he hasn't read any of the mythicist books at all, knows none of the arguments, doesn't know that all the things he's saying here are completely wrong Christian apologetics that have been heavily refuted, knows none of that and goes, you're retarded. You don't believe in the magical Jew? You're retarded. You don't believe in the virgin birth and rising from the dead? You're retarded. I can't deal with these guys. He's a groiper, by the way.
For you, Alexander the Great, a person that you probably wouldn't argue existed, right, and was a real historical figure.
I hate when they do this.
And then the other apologist thing too. Oh, if Jesus didn't exist, then nobody existed.
I hate this one because I've always just been really into history and like kind of like a really like just reading primary sources and just can I find the most obscure, interesting stories and things like that. And it has always been that this argument that they put forward like this makes absolutely no sense to anyone familiar with any of ancient history. Because
they're completely wrong. There's so much better evidence for many historical figures than Jesus. They're completely wrong about this. And Bart Ehrman will even compare it to like the evidence for Jesus is just as good as the evidence for Abraham Lincoln, he'll say. That's how far he'll take
I've never seen him say that. That's hilarious.
Yeah.
I got to see that.
He says it in that History Valley interview.
Oh, true. I guess you're right. Yeah.
We have about 400 manuscripts about him, and the first ones were found 400 to 500 years after his death. With Jesus Christ, we have 25,000 manuscripts about him, and they were found with less than 100 years after his death.
Dude, he's so off on that. How does he get up here? I wish I could see how many views this has. 5,500 likes from a few days ago.
Yeah, this content gets boosted heavily.
Yeah. To think there's 25,000 manuscripts, complete manuscripts from 100 years after Jesus lived is so off. It's so far off by hundreds and hundreds of years.
One can make a very strong argument that Jesus Christ is the most undeniable historical figure that you could ever look to in ancient history. Like, I don't know where you're getting your information from, but it is straight up wrong, or you're just trying to lead people astray. Every knee will bow, every tongue will confess that Christ is Lord.
Jesus.
Every knee will bow. Every knee will. You can sure take somebody's opinion on if Jesus existed seriously when they end it with every knee will bow. Christ is king. Jesus Christ. I better be careful with this guy. I think he might be on steroids. He's going to be like...
Are you questioning my faith? You want to go?
Yeah.
I think he's got like a bodybuilding Instagram or something too.
And like these guys all do, I don't know how we don't go over it too much, but the Suetonius stuff is so stupid too. Like that is obviously not about like what we know as Christians today. And like from our perspective, let's just say it is, and let's just steel man it and say it is authentic. He's talking about like Jewish Christians there. Like obviously talking about like Jewish rebellious Christians. So if any of these e-crusaders are going to say that's an authentic passage, then you have to admit that your religion is extremely Jewish based on that passage. If you're going to use that for a historical, if that Groiper is going to use it for that. Oh, let's get the Carrier. Yeah, my Carrier book just came in the mail just now while we were doing this.
Oh, cool. Nice.
Nailable in this.
I can't wait.
So if you're trying to argue against Christianity using this argument, you're leading with a weak argument. Yeah. Right. So you just grant historicity, with one of the died argument. So like if you're gonna say like
I do agree with him on that.
The actual...
I know in the spaces and stuff, and we do our thing where we're like, but we have our own unique perspective, right? Why we're going after Christianity in that way, in the historicity way. But I do agree with him that if you're just gonna be like doing this, argument against religion or superstition or Christianity in general, that like starting with Jesus mythicism is not the easiest way to do it. I do agree with him here.
It's a higher bar to jump.
For sure.
Yeah. And it's hard because they can go, oh, look, the consensus. Look what Google says. Look what ChatGPT says. It cites Bart Ehrman saying this, right? This is, by the way, a clip from Myth Vision, who's about to hit 300,000 on YouTube. It's got 11,000 views 6 days ago, and they talk about PSYOP theories around Christianity. We're going to respond to our take.
Like you're starting in a weak position, right? Like you're not going to have the evidence you need to really nail that premise, right? Like you can say, 1 in 3 chance he died, And you say, oh, that's low. That's so low it hurts me emotionally. But it doesn't really. And the people who are watching this.
From your first note
I think
to
it
your
goes
next
down.
big thing,
He said before one of the
your sound.
He
other
recalculates it in the
come.
book, and it's a lower percentage chance.
Less than 1 in 3.
Yeah.
That was like the very conservative high. That's way higher than normal.
That's like the higher. Yeah. I think it's closer to 5 or 10%.
We've talked about things.
Yeah, I think it's even less than that, but yeah.
Like high chronology and low chronology. Like, did Christianity start 100 years before, right? Where I think the answer is no, but nonetheless, I think it's plausible and worth considering, right? So, like, I take it seriously. Whereas, like, was Christianity a conspiracy of the Roman Empire it was a psyop to control the Jews? It was like, no, that's not even plausible, right? So, like, and I can make an evidential case.
So hold on, real quick, just to
we agree.
He just said it's not a psyop to control a Roman psyop to control the Jews. So that's at will stuff. Let's just be clear, right? Like that's what he's talking about there.
Caesar's Messiah and creating Christ.
Very, very popular right now, all over, like on TikTok, on Instagram, like we've been talking about. My Christian YouTube has like 5 or 6 recommendations almost every day for Caesar's Messiah type stuff. Did Paul create Christianity as a weapon? Did the Romans create Christianity? The whole thing.
Yep. Yeah, there's lots of different conspiracies surrounding origins of Christianity.
Like I'm
Gnosticism
like,
is basically a
like
conspiracy.
you have a theory, I can tell, like that's a plausible theory. That's not, this is a theory you should take seriously. You need to refute it before you move on. There's different ways to approach different things. I'm open to all these possibilities, and so I'm actually quite interested in them. And so I do examine them and take them seriously.
What about flipping that, instead of being that the Romans are trying to use this as a psyop to control Jews, but rather, I've heard this hypothesis, that Jews created Christianity as a psyop in order to control or conquer the Gentiles?
Yeah. It's even less plausible. Really? It's
how really? He's surprised.
Yeah.
Derek sounded surprised. You mean the book that talks all about all the Gentiles bowing down to the Jewish God, and the Messiah? And so he writes the top books about how the Jews invented Jesus. And clearly this Messiah is meant to conquer the nations for the God of Israel. So how is it implausible exactly?
That's plausible, depending on how you frame it, right? So this is we talk in one of our other videos about Mott and Bailey argumentation, where you start at a weak position, and then when someone shows that it's really weak, that you retreat to this completely different but stronger position, and then when someone backs off, you go back to the weak argument that was refuted. And so like there's this dance where like if you say like it's a Jewish psyop to control the Gentiles, then you can
hold on. Does Judaism not want all the Gentiles to believe in their God one day? Is that not religious control, religious mind control?
And also, to be very clear, the contract that Jews have with their God is a vassal subject relationship. It is like in the classical sense, in the feudal sense that we understand it, where their God has ownership over them. They're basically their slaves to their God, and that the next rung underneath that is the Gentile world. That is their religion. So I don't know where he gets this idea that that's so crazy that they would have it like set up like that. That's the whole thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Play games with what those words mean, right? So you can play games with what those words mean, reinterpret them in a fancy, elaborate way such that it says a different thing, which is that Paul,
like when it says rule in the land of thine enemies and make them the footstool, and that they're going to be bowing down and every knee will bow and he will have dominion over them. And so it's us making them say things they don't say. Is that what he's trying to say?
Thought that he could fix society if he could get Jews and Gentiles to live together and cooperate. And he thought it would be a better way to do that is to eliminate some of the requirements, to make it easier to join. And so his idea was he really did think, I think, he thought he could bring all peoples together and create a common people that could create their own sort of economy, because he's pro-communist and the whole thing. So
pro-communist. He's right about that. Paul's pro-communist.
Yeah, he is.
They were in communes, basically, the Dead Sea Scrolls and the Christians, yeah.
I mean, there's verses of them getting in trouble for not giving up all their possessions and... Yeah.
See through it all's right. He says, who created Christianity and what were the effects? It's simple, right? And I can agree with this. I say this all the time. Even if Paul was completely sincere and really believed that Jesus existed in heaven and that it was prophetic plan that the Gentiles are supposed to have this new covenant and be grafted in. Maybe he did really believe all of those things. He's still an agent influenced and advancing like the messianic meme of the Messiah ruling the nations. That's what we're saying. Even if he's completely authentic, it's still advancing the Messiah meme that it's about conquering the world. It's not Amat and Bailey. That's the position. That's what we're saying. Maybe he was lying. Maybe him, and it's more like total theeshu. Also, it could be, maybe less likely, harder to argue, but that James and Peter and Paul, maybe it started organically and they thought, we could use this, like it says in total theeshu, and took it to the Gentiles. I don't know. I don't have the super good proof for that. But even at the bare minimum, if Paul was completely sincere and genuinely thought he was just fulfilling God's plan and wanted to make the world a better place, the goal still was he was influenced by prophecies that are about the Messiah conquering the nations. He says it in Romans 15:12. I'll look it up in a second.
But that's not a psyop, right? First of all, that's just a guy with a vision for organizing society.
It's like
that vision is this. Hold on.
Yeah, it is a psyop. What is he talking about?
The vision is the psyop, too, that the Jews were ever chosen, that they believe in prophecies, that the Messiah and the God of Israel is meant to rule the world. How are you going to say that's not a psyop? Like, is it not, have people not been psychologically targeted? You're saying nobody ever lied? The priest class didn't, like, make this up to control the Jews at first, and then the noble lie got extended to the Gentiles? Like, it's crazy how they'll bend over backwards to, like, be so scared of being called anti-Semitic, which they do. They just rejected his peer-reviewed book, saying that it was anti-Semitism.
Yeah.
It's not the Jews, it's one dude, right? It's not,
another straw man, like how many, because the Christians try to do this to us too, right? They try to make it sound like what we're proposing is like some cartoonish conspiracy, right? They try to make it sound as ridiculous as possible when that's not what we're saying. I've always said it's clearly not all Jews that invented Jesus. It was a sect, one sect of messianic apocalyptic Jews. So again, another straw. I mean, I don't know if it's a straw manning or maybe he's just addressing, he's seen people say this or he's seen comments saying this. But I agree with that. It's not all Jews that were in on some big plot.
Well, it wouldn't work. The whole system doesn't work if all Jews know about it. Like part of the system that we're talking about is that, it solidifies Jewish identity, right? By saying, we are not Christians. We are set aside as like the other kind of thing. Like they're the bad guys in the Christian religion, they're host nations. And that solidifies their identity, their in-group preference, their survival strategy, their myths, all of it, right? So what we're saying is that is what it wouldn't even work if they understood it like that. You know what I mean? It's not like if every Jew, we're not saying every Jew for 2,000 years was walking around being like, these goyim, they don't even know that Jesus is fake. Like that is absolutely not what is going on here. That's not how this works. Like it wouldn't have worked that way.
So Paul writes, being influenced by Isaiah and lots of other prophecies that are all about conquering the nations, he says, the root of Jesse, Jesus, the Messiah, the branch of David, will spring up, who will arise to rule over the nations. In him the Gentiles will hope. And what's that? Citing Isaiah 42 and 11. So it's about conquering and having the Gentiles believe in this Messiah and ruling over them. But like, you gonna talk trash?
so it's not like some big conspiracy. It didn't have some sort of like nefarious purpose. It was just a completely logical diplomatic idea.
Is it not nefarious to want your Jewish Messiah to conquer the world? He says like, oh, everybody wants to do that. Everybody wants to rule the world. Well, okay, but then everyone that wants to do it and accomplishes it, you don't have any problem with that?
Right. And so like, that's it. Right. Now, if you reinterpret those words to mean that, then, okay, now we're back in plausible town.
Right.
Like you can argue.
Like, what if you call that psyop? So
right.
So he's basically agreeing. See, exactly. Derek gets it. He's like, yeah, you're in plausible town.
Yeah.
It is a psyop. So they basically, in a way, they kind of make my arguments for me and then grant like the points that I'm making are true. Watch this.
Exactly. Well, that's the thing, is that carries this baggage that doesn't mean that, right? So then see, what I've just described is the mott. That's the easily defended position. But what people want to defend is sort of this,
secret conspiracy.
Right, exactly. Like it's an international conspiracy of the Jews to take over non-Jews, right? Like it's like.
No, it started with one sect and spread, and it is the Jewish God and the Jewish Messiah that is the #1 religion in the world. And it's not a hidden conspiracy; it's an open conspiracy. All you got to do is read the book.
Yeah. It's a plain reading of the text. I said this to you last night too. What we need to remember is that the literacy rates from back in those days were so low that these people didn't realize that the masses were going to be able to read all of what they're writing. 2,000 years plus later, they didn't. This was writings for ancient priestcraft, writing for each other, right? So they didn't. They didn't have no concept that the masses were going to read what they're putting down.
So verses like Psalm 2, 22, 110, so many others. Like this is midrash that they use to tell about Jesus. You are my son, today I become your father. What does it say right after? What is the role of Jesus? I will make the goyim your inheritance, the ends of the earth your possession. You will break them with a rod of iron. Not nefarious, though, and dash them to pieces like pottery. Kings of the earth, you rulers of the earth, serve the Lord with fear and celebrate his rule with trembling. Nothing nefarious there, though, right? And it's just verse after verse of them saying this.
That's the Bailey. That's the bullshit version of it. That you can't use the Mont argument to defend the Bailey.
Yeah, that's a valid point. And I was even going to say that we could factor in. Here's this mystic prophet Paul, one Jew who thinks much of himself for sure, who's looking at Scripture. He's decoding the Gentile.
Joseph Smith, Muhammad, and even if it's not Muhammad, is somebody. Thought that it would be a good idea to organize all these things and organize your armies along this new Quranic faith, right? Like somebody thought.
We agree. Paul thought it was a good idea. Obviously, he did it.
That would be a good idea, right? Is that a conspiracy? Is that a psyop to take over the world? Like, I mean, those are the wrong words, right? Like that's not really how, like they do have the goal. They want everybody to be Muslim, right? That's not a conspiracy. They're open about that. It's not a hidden thing, right? Like I said, and so the idea, and
it's not hidden. Open conspiracy. That's what I write in my book. It's an open conspiracy. On the pages of the greatest, most printed book of all time, hiding in plain sight.
Joseph Smith, the original
they just
formulation.
told it in poetic language, Jewish language, and assumed no one was going to read it. And and then for centuries, our Europeans have been fighting over access to read the book.
And then they see, what does Jesus do as Melchizedek? He will crush kings on his day of wrath. He will judge the goyim, crushing the rulers of the earth. The high priest Melchizedek, which Jesus is, he will make his enemies a footstool. He will rule in the midst of your enemies. The iron, the scepter from Zion. Like it's so apparent what these are the prophecies that inspired Paul and the first Christians about their Messiah. So you could say, he just thought it was a good idea and he had good intentions, but like his intentions are motivated by a dictator to come and conquer the earth.
100% a scam, like totally made up. But like he had these ideas about how to organize society. He was very arrogant about himself. Like if we do it this way, it would be better. And so he created all of this sort of trickery to sort of convince people to his vision. And so then you get Mormonism, and here it is, an international movement and so on. Does that mean like Mormons are engaged in an international conspiracy to take over the world?
Yes. Mormons adopted the Messiah meme and the Bible prophecy meme, and they do want their version of this meme to take over the world. Yes. Right?
Yeah, I don't understand what his argument is here. He's so afraid to put blame on or intent behind creating a lie. I don't understand why he's doing this, because he's like already politically against, the Christian, Republican, evil, whatever, however he frames that. So I don't understand this whole thing where he's like carrying water for it. Or he refuses to assign blame. It's just he's terrified of being called anti-Semitic. That's the only thing I can see.
I mean, in a really weak sense that everyone is it's not,
how is that a weak sense?
Christians want this.
Yeah.
How is that a weak sense?
Yeah, I don't want to have a king rule the whole world.
Yeah.
That's not part of my prophecies. I don't want every knee to bow to the Jewish Messiah like the Mormons do, like the Muslims do. like the Jews and Christians do.
And if 88% of Congress believed that the son of Odin, Thor, was going to come back if we just worship the country of Norway hard enough and we were bombing the shit out of like Denmark for Norway, then we could talk about it. But that's not what's happening in our reality. The Jewish prophecy won out. So we have to deal with that. We have to deal with that problem. We have to talk about that thing.
If it was some other religion that had conquered the world, I'd say that was the conspiracy.
Yeah, it's so stupid. And he doesn't disagree. Like that's well, that's what all the religions are supposed to do. So he agrees with the premise that that's what it did. So stop like pussyfooting around with this. It's stupid.
Muslims want this, right? So it's like everybody's doing that, but it's not a secret. Like they're just openly doing it.
And the final thing on that,
well, just because we know a lot of it too, and it is an open secret and an open conspiracy, doesn't mean that there was no plotting behind that. Are you just like hand waving the idea that Paul and the first Christians like ever got together in private and never like had any plans or any goals or agenda? Like how do you know that? They would never, and who can blame them if they're trying to come up with schemes to like, not be occupied by the Romans?
Oh yeah,
it's understandable.
And by the way, it's basically a communist system. And how did it take power? Through like a Bolshevik style top-down revolution enforced through violence and basically like mob violence and fear tactic, like Antifa destruction type tactics. It's an identical system.
Yeah, censorship and killing heretics and all that. Here we go.
As we wrap up here, I keep thinking, I've read Paul Frederiksen, read several Pauline scholars who are identifying scripture that Paul quotes or seems to be lifting from Isaiah, other places that have these, you could see him seeing himself as someone who's pulling the fulfillment of that, the nations, the light to the nations. We're actually going to get the nations in. 10 Gentiles grab the coattail of the Jew to hear about the
there was all of this.
Derek gets it, dude. He gets it. Derek's sounding green-pilled here, and Carrier is being bad faith, trying to. I don't know if he has me in mind here or not. It seems like he may, but I don't know how much he's watched. But he's strawmanning a whole lot of my positions here.
He's fulfilling it.
Yeah, there was definitely there was a lot of this Jewish nationalism in the Old Testament. This idea that they're going to be the center of the world and everybody will bow to them. Like, yes, totally.
The early Christians were Jewish nationalists.
Yeah, and what?
I don't know. What does he talk? Like, you know how American Jews are like Israeli nationalists, even though they don't speak Hebrew and they're kind of like shitty Jews a lot of times. Like they don't even follow the Bible or anything. That's who created Christianity. Okay. The ancient Hellenized Jews, that version of that's who created Christianity. And they were nationalists still.
Derek just mentioned the light to the nations. So we have in Isaiah 49, you are my servant, the light to the nations, make you a light to the Gentiles, that my salvation may reach the ends of the earth. Kings will see you and stand up. Princes will see you and bow down. And the best verse, they will bow down before you with their faces to the ground. They will lick the dust at your feet. Then you will know that I am the Lord. This is what this is about here. When you mean light to the nations, that's what it implies there. The book of Enoch connects the light to the nations to the Son of Man, again, conquering all the kings of the earth. So yeah, Carrier just confirmed, well, if they're Jewish supremacist nationalists and they think they're the chosen people and all the world's going to bow to them and their God and their Messiah, but it's not a secret, and it wasn't all of them. We know. But still, so it's in a weird way, they're actually conceding to all the major points.
He's fulfilling it.
Yeah, there was definitely there was a lot of this Jewish nationalism in the Old Testament. This idea that they're going to be the center of the world and everybody will bow to them. Yes, totally in the Old Testament. And which is not different from anybody else. Like the Roman Empire said this, everybody says.
But this is the one that dominates this civilization the last 1700 years. This is the one that dominates our politicians. This is the one that's influencing our foreign policy. And just say, oh, they're all like that. So maybe if it was the Roman one, I'd say, hey, the Roman gods are fake and they want to rule the world with this fake myth. I'd say the same thing no matter where it came from. But for some reason, he just wants to act. I can't understand it.
The thing is so imagine if you were to say, I just did the Mormonism thing. You're going to say that because Joseph Smith wanted to transform society and then snowball compound interest, it grows into this international church where they all want this mission. Does that mean that the Pope wanted to conquer the world through Mormonism? Right. So you can't say like the Christians, global Christians, all evangelicals, Orthodox, they all got together in a secret cabal and they said, we're going to invent Mormonism and take over the world. No, obviously that's not at all what happened. But it's one dude had an idea and then a bunch of people.
And again, that's what I say all the time. It's a schism between sects. It was a small group of Jews that probably conceived Jesus from the scriptures. And still though, it is the meme, wouldn't you say, Amalek? You have to understand it as the Messiah prophecy meme and what that entails, according to their scriptures and their interpretations. And yes, Mormonism is the Messiah meme that wants to take over the world.
Yeah, and this idea that like if the Catholic or if the Mormons took over the world, like that wouldn't be a Catholic domination. Well, it would if the Catholics and the Mormons were allied the entire time they were doing it and helping each other. And whenever one of them was attacked, the other one would get come
they
to
teamed up. They were greatest allies. If it was the Christian Mormon, like the Judeo Christianity we have today, exactly.
What is he even talking about? The entire history of the Jewish religion, the Jewish people, is how they served their host nations and lived in their host nations, and the way they did that was through the religion. Basically,
it's like he's ignoring how all of our politicians are literally like Zion slaves that go and pray at their wall and are like Genesis 12:3, like cursed if you curse them, blessed if you bless them. And he's like, well, did the Jews take over America with Christianity? It certainly seems to look like it lately. Have you not looked around?
It's insane.
Come on, look at Mike Huckabee. Look at Paula White. Look at all these Pence, Pompeo, Ted Cruz. Come on.
Yeah, it's never ending. And he's doing this liberal thing where he's like, oh, it's what a bunch of people do has no bearing on the group. But okay, what percentage of messianic apocalyptic scams are Jewish around today? Which percentage of apocalyptic scams are based on the Jewish Bible? Oh, all of them? Got it.
Right.
Okay. There's no, Ragnarok scams going on where people are sending their money in because Ragnarok's coming or something like that. This is ridiculous.
Yeah.
Everyone is obsessed with the end times messianic meme that comes from the Jewish Bible, period.
Thought that was a good idea, and then they push it, and that's it. Gotcha. So like Christianity is the same way. It's like Paul had this idea. It wasn't even the original idea. Like the original Christians were not into this, right? Like that was not their mission to like make admission of Gentiles easier, right? At all. But
this is true. If the Bible, which I think is probably true, I doubt they would make this part up. The original Christians were like, no, Gentiles have to convert and circumcise if they're going to become Jesus followers and become observant and follow the commandments. So. But then if you look at the total theishu, at least their understanding of total theishu, they saw it as a threat in Judaism, and then they deliberately took it away to the Gentiles. And even if that's not true, that's the funny thing is the Jewish perspective on the origins of Christianity is literally that it was a conspiracy started by Jews and taken to the Gentiles and subverted.
Yeah,
crazy.
This idea that then we can like unify and there will be this tension between Gentiles and Jews would go away. Like that's his sort of like, it's naive, it's a little arrogant, but it's like it was what he sincerely thought.
It worked.
Right? And then, this gathered as a snowball, compound interest. And then as you got a movement of Christians who want this to happen, right? Like, so this is whatever. We should convert all the Jews now. Like everybody should come in and we should all be Christians and conquer the world. But that wasn't the Jews. That wasn't their plan. Like they didn't have any of the...
No, it wasn't all of them. It was a Pharisee that's influenced by the Jewish Bible and the Jewish scriptures. Obviously, we're not blaming all Jews, especially Jews today, but all Jews of the past for one thing, like there's some monolith. Like who's even saying this? This is such a way to straw man to just like discredit the idea. It's like
and like Jews themselves. I mean, we showed the clips where they're talking about, oh, they took the names of God and they got approval from the Sanhedrin, and we celebrated in our feasts and all this.
That's total theishu. That's the total theishu.
Right, yeah.
But what also the rabbis say? How come we have clips of rabbis everywhere laughing and celebrating that Paul the Jew and all the first Christian Jews conquered the pagan world with Jesus, and they're all celebrating it? Why is he ignoring that also?
Yeah. Well, he did in the Think for Yourself interview. He did the thing where, he said, "Oh, I don't see any examples of Noahidism as a concept existing before the Talmud," which is just that's insane that he said that as like an expert.
I'm not sure. It might not be. It's very likely that the oral tradition did go back to them reading the. You see a version of it in Acts 15. He says something right here, though. He goes, if the Jews wanted to conquer the world, they would have made everybody convert to Judaism, which is not the case.
That's not how it would have worked.
That's a bad argument and wrong.
The idea of like rules for non-Jews is laid out in the very foundation. Like it's in Deuteronomy, it's in Genesis. It doesn't just come from nowhere.
I think I'll say that here in a second.
They didn't have anything to do with this.
I was literally going to say, and I know that we were derailed from the mythicist Jesus, so to speak, the historical question, but it is one of the weird things that
was relevant to the idea of comparing plausible versus implausible theories and the kind of games people play to try and like argue a position. And it's easy to see, like you see like these crank versions of history. It's easy to worry that, for instance, my model, which actually went through the proper academic channels, is just another one of those things. So like it's you got to be able to see that they are different. I'm using a different methodology. I'm using a different argument. I have a different theory. That doesn't mean that the bogus stuff is good. It's still crank. But the crank stuff being crank doesn't mean that like the official academic stuff is crank too.
No, of course.
So like this requires like, but I think people have a hard time disassociating, right? And so like that's where you get this Mott and Bailey thing with the Jews and the PSYOP, the whole thing. It's like you can have these plausible versions of things, but then certain people want to use that to argue a much less plausible thing, and so they think that but you said this is true, so isn't this then true? It's like this. They can't tell the difference between a bad argument and a good
Isn't it
argument,
incredible how you can
and I think
put
that
this directly up against how people argue against him?
It's the same thing.
You could just take this clip and put it directly next to Bart Ehrman arguing against him, or Wes Huff, or any of these people, and you could just take this clip and it would just fit perfectly.
Yeah. They call him a conspiracy crank, and they say he's not a real scholar, and they say he has bad arguments. But it's true. You know what else happens is a lot of his critics or detractors will not understand his arguments. They won't read his material. They will straw man him and misrepresent him, right, to discredit him and call him ad hominem names, and he turns and does the same exact thing.
Creates a lot of problem and the tensions in the community dealing with this.
And just that PSYOP, last thing on the PSYOP thing that I was going to say was that it's really odd to me when I've thought about this, because I've heard people postulate this position. To me, it's like
I think that Judaism is a psyop on Jewish people by the priest class. Somebody made it up to control people.
I think Jonathan Adler's right. I think it was created as basically like the founding myth to justify the dynasty from that time period around 150.
Plato's noble lie. Carrier's been saying it's Plato's noble lie for over 10 years.
Yeah. That's what it is. So it's like backdated mythology, right? And it's just the founding myth of the way that they were going to keep those people together. And because of it, the way it works, where in the story, it's basically like built to be conquered. As soon as that dynasty was conquered, by the Romans, by the Greeks and the Romans, it survived because that's part of the story, is it surviving as conquered.
Chat's commenting on Derek's Versace or biker shirt or soccer shirt or something.
You know how much shit Jews had to go through because Gentiles who run the Christian faith are like persecuting them?
Yeah.
Like, would you really work overtime to make the opponents, your real enemies that you're secretly trying to get?
Yes, they call it that's like their divine persecution.
Over-controlling and
what are you
becoming
talking about?
Yeah, but I think it just started as a natural schism, though, honestly. And because I get what they're saying. The Christians say the same thing. Like, who said it? Leonarda on a viral clip. Or when she was with Jake, they're like, the Jews didn't make a religion that persecuted and hated them for 2,000 years and kicked them out of 109 countries. The Christians try to do this straw man way to discredit the argument the same way. They all do that same thing. We're not claiming this. I'm not claiming that they did it intentionally to blame Jews for killing God. They didn't even come up with it. The prophecy in the scripture like dictated and inspired this prophetic rejection of the Jews of their Messiah.
Yeah, I mean that's totally right, and obviously you know about this, but like then but at the same time we have like Maimonides and other rabbis who even in like the Middle Ages, right, like the 1300s and 1400s, they understand that despite the divine persecution that Christianity and Islam has given them, that's just part of like the plan, basically, is what they're so they argue. So even back then they were realizing that it was something that they basically could use, you know what I mean, as part of their like survival strategy. So that even if they didn't intend it to be this way at the initiation, it was obviously being used for those means, going all the way. I mean, I would argue that at least the Theodosian codes, where they're just straight up enforcing a certain percentage of senators will be Jewish. You can't make Jews work on the Sabbath, and all
paganism's outlawed.
Exactly. All this other stuff, and that's like the earliest laws that we have, right? So I would say that relationship or that understanding, we don't have like direct oh look, here's like Jews writing scripture for Christians in the 3rd century or anything like that. But the Jews had already understood this relationship very early on in Christianity's history, I think.
Especially once they understood it as the Jacob-Esau dialectic also.
100%. 100%. Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's no rabbis that would, or like, well-read Jews who wouldn't have understood it like this, by the way. Like, absolutely not. They would have seen it. It would have been obvious.
Yeah, I'm reminded of, I'm going to try to look for it right now, but like a book I read, it talked about a Kabbalah rabbi that tried to like activate the Christians like prophetically. I think it was in the 1500s. I believe it's right here. I'll look for it while we're listening to the rest of this. But it just goes to show, like, if they were doing it then, why can you outright dismiss that that could have been going on in earlier centuries?
People are literally ruling over you. Yeah, right. Does that make sense? Like, it's kind of counterintuitive. Yeah, it's and of course, the rebuttal would be, oh, they just lost control of their psyop, right? But
exactly, it's a meme that many different people influenced. It has a life. Memes have a life of their own. So what they could start it, and it does go out of their control. In fact, that's his whole argument, is that a meme started and then it had a life of its own and evolved into something else. I just was listening to his Jesus in Outer Space book. He has a chapter about how the mythical Jesus, the celestial Jesus, became a historical figure, and that's his whole argument. And now it seems like he's like arguing with himself about it.
Like overlapping, over controlling, and becoming more popular, and literally ruling over you. Yeah, right. Does that make sense? Like, it's kind of counterintuitive. Yeah.
No, but all the rabbis agree, even the ones that are persecuted, that Christianity did advance the God of Israel over paganism. Like, that did happen. And they celebrate it and they recognize it. And that was the intent and the objective and the MO to begin with.
It's and of course, the rebuttal would be, oh, they just lost control of their psyop, right? But the thing is like, but that's a completely predictable outcome. So like it's the idea of like, why would Jews want to take over the world by abandoning Judaism? That's a self-contradictory goal. Like, you think like if the Jews wanted to take,
they didn't abandon. They created a neo-Judaism, a spiritualized Judaism for the Gentiles. Because they don't want the Gentile world to convert and become Jewish. They wanted some Noahide compliant, messianic subjugation.
Over the world, they would want to make everybody Jewish. That would be the law.
Dude, how many rabbis have said that if Gentiles want to follow Judaism, they become Noahides? Like, are you trying to act like Christianity is not a version of watered down Judaism? This argument here is bad from Carrier.
It's kind of counterintuitive.
Yeah, it's and of course, the rebuttal would be, oh, they just lost control of their psyop, right? But the thing is like, but that's a completely predictable outcome. So like it's the It's the idea of like, why would
They
Jews
don't.
want
Real
to take
quick,
over
real
the
quick.
world?
Sorry, they don't even need to do this lose control thing. The whole idea is that Jews are a witness people to be preserved in the end times. Aquinas is writing about this, as Nick says, and all these other early church fathers are writing about this. So the whole the theology that the early Christians have is protect Jews to witness the return of Jesus, which is coming any day now. Okay, so this idea that he has, where they persecuted the Jews, and look how bad of a situation this is for Jews. It's so stupid. It immediately acted as a shell of protection for them.
Right. Yeah. Judaism was actually preserved. They had laws that protected Jews, even, and some laws to keep them separate, stop from assimilating and intermixing, which also fits in line with Judaism, right? And I forgot where I was going with this. Anyway,
by abandoning Judaism, that's a self-contradictory goal. Like, you think, like, if the Jews wanted to take over the world, they would want to make everybody Jewish. That would be the logical thing. So why would you invent a religion that involves abandoning everything that is distinctively Jewish?
everything that's distinctively Jewish. No, they call themselves spiritually circumcised Jews and the true Israel, and it's still messianic apocalyptic Judaism. It's not abandoning everything Jewish. The Jews don't want the Gentiles converting and following their commandments. That's why they promote Noahide laws. Can't believe I'm hearing these arguments from Carrier.
That doesn't make any sense as a psyop, right? It doesn't. It's similar to like the way that will.
This psyop thing is what he's really hung up on.
Like,
I think
the whole.
Yeah, they get hung up on that word. Like, do we need to look up the definition and try to see if it's a psyop or not?
Model, like the mission you're assigning the Romans makes no sense for the Romans. Like, why would they do this? Even they are smart enough to know that would be a dumb mission, right? So yeah, like there's all that is that internal criticism that you can do, but I think you don't even need to go there. You can.
Okay, dude, check out what a psychological operation is. Okay, military activities that aim to influence emotions, motives, and behavior. Christianity and Paul definitely does that. Influence emotions, motives, behavior of a target audience, Gentiles, Paul, the apostle to the Gentiles, to achieve a military or political objectives or messianic prophetic objectives.
Dude, they have like special forces and special operations, how to lead a rebellion, how to lead non-conventional forces or irregulars and things like that. They're like manuals on how to set up psychological operations and things like that. And and I bet you if we went through and read it line by line, it reads just like what Paul did.
And if, say, Paul did this all on his own, one person can develop a psyop. It doesn't have to be every Jew in ancient times, right? So that argument, it says this includes propaganda using media, letters, scriptures, preaching, face-to-face communication. And it's like they couldn't win on the battlefield. They're occupied by the Romans. They have prophecies about their Redeemer, Messiah, come to rule the world and conquer their enemies. And then they invented that figure and sold him to the Gentiles. Ultimately took him to and it's clear to see why they would have taken what would have inspired them to create this figure and go to the Gentiles with it. Paul has many verses he cites midrashically for this.
Oh, well, and then Jews themselves say that their position is that a lot of Jews at the time were converting to Christianity because it was far easier, right? You didn't have these problems where you're doing all these like Jewish rituals and circumcision and being so othered and all this other stuff. So a lot of Hellenized or Roman Jews, like they were enticed to take it to join Christianity because of this. And that's kind of like the Jewish position how it always has been, is that they believe that like their lower class or middle class Jews who weren't very good Jews, that those are the ones who the early Christians were. Those are the early converts.
It's so crazy how we've got compilations of just like Jew after Jew, rabbi after rabbi talking about how Christianity was started by Jews and it conquered the pagan world and fulfilled their prophecies. And then we get called cranks and anti-Semites for acknowledging the prophecies. That's what happened. And then the rabbis are all bragging about it. And then they call us cranks and anti-Semites. Here's one from Maimonides.
Kippah, and the lady. What is the purpose of Christianity and Islam according to Judaism? Maimonides gives us a beautiful answer. He tells us the intent of the creator of the world is not within the power of man to comprehend. For his ways are not our ways, nor are his thoughts our thoughts. The whole purpose of Christianity and Islam was to prepare the world for the coming of the Mashiach, of the Messiah, and the improvement of the entire world. Motivating the nations of the world to serve God together, as it says in the prophet Zephaniah, chapter 3, verse 9. I will transform the peoples to a pure language, and that they will all call upon the name of God and serve him with one purpose. The entire world has already become filled with the mention of Mashiach, Torah, and mitzvahs. What does Judaism say about Christianity and Islam? What is the purpose of Christianity and Islam? Hashem, God, used Christianity and Islam as a mechanism to bring monotheism to the world. I remember one time I went to an airport and I was wearing a yarmulke, I was wearing a kippah, and the lady asked me, what is a yarmulke? What is a kippah? And I'm like trying to explain to her, I'm Jewish, there's the idea of the Jewish people, and this lady was Indian. She had no idea what the Jewish people are. So I was thinking to myself, if God wants to reveal the truth to the world, he wants to bring the Messiah, he wants to bring the world under him, how is the world going to come to God if no one knows what it means? Judaism, they don't understand the idea of Torah, they don't understand the idea of commandments and Mashiach. So Hashem used Christianity and Islam to spread these ideas across the world, so when Messiah, son of David, comes, everyone's going to know Christianity. You don't have to teach people from scratch. Everyone's going to see, oh, okay, Judaism, we're familiar with it. It's not going to be a new concept for them.
Yeah, it's got the whole world waiting for a Messiah to come. Here's one more. This is a good one. Just some random Israeli interview.
My question today for you is Jesus, okay? Do you think he celebrated Hanukkah or Christmas?
There's no actually a record about Jesus being existed.
Really?
By Romans, not by anyone. It's just like for Jews, Jesus is like Santa Claus. Santa Claus is actually based on a real priest.
Less real than Santa
Saint
Claus.
Nicholas.
Okay.
Thank you, Alabama.
But, Jesus was like all made up.
Really?
Yeah.
So you think that the Brit Chadasha is all fiction?
By Jews.
By Jews.
Made up by Jews.
Yeah. Exactly.
Interesting. And why would they do that?
To convert other tribes to believe in the same God.
Even though it's fiction.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So that doesn't really matter then, because he wouldn't have celebrated anything. Because he wasn't real.
Like conceptual, wise, he was a Jew, so yeah, he would celebrate Hanukkah. Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. But even though there's like he's mentioned in the Brit Chadasha from different sources, he's also mentioned in the Talmud, which came hundreds of years later.
Yeah, exactly.
He's also mentioned from a Jewish historian by the name of Josephus, and some Roman historians also as a living human.
This is the best they got, dude. So bad.
Yeah, but yet again, they were Christian Jews. Even Josephus was a Christian Jew.
No, Josephus wasn't a Christian.
But he was. He was with the, he had relations with the Roman Empire, and he had
They weren't Christian then.
motives to agree with.
It's a forgery. He didn't agree with the existence.
Fell because of the spread of Christianity. Not
Jocelyn 8 sent $5 on Rumble. This guy knows what's up.
This guy does know what's up. He's green-pilled Israeli.
The Roman Empire.
Yeah,
and
he has outdated
motives.
information on Tacit. On Josephus. That's all.
He was
that used to be
he had relations with the Roman Empire, and he had his own motives to agree with his existence.
Did you know that the Roman Empire fell because of the spread of Christianity, not because of a big war?
Yeah, exactly.
Pretty powerful. I mean, that's some evidence of
Jews,
something.
Power.
Jews in power. So this guy's a crank. He's obviously a self-hating Jew for noticing the obvious here. Right?
So what is he saying? It's all Jews that have all the power?
Yeah.
So stupid.
Okay, check this out. Here, look at this baptism. Imagine this is a Russian Orthodox, I believe, priest. Look at this. Imagine taking your little baby and having this guy dunk him around all violently like that. This ancient superstitious ritual, Jewish purity bathing. Look at this one. Can you believe this was wacky shit? Newborn baby getting flipped around like that. Oh, we got to do it 3 times for good measure, for the Holy Spirit, for the Trinity. Three dunks. What's this one?
In Russia over the weekend. We want to warn you that the video may be disturbing to watch. So here it is. Take a look at this. You can see the 1-year-old boy crying. You can hear him while Father Foudy starts to immerse him in a baptismal font. When the boy does not cooperate, the father uses force to continue the ritual. You can also see him fend off from the boy's mother, who was trying to get
psycho Jewish wizard larpers and these kids, dude. And their stupid rituals and superstitions and initiation cult rituals like this.
Their son back. Well, the father said the mother was overreacting. But the following day, the Russian Orthodox Church released a statement. It says Father Foudy has now been banned from performing baptism for a year. Well, the tragic daycare fire that killed 5 children in Pennsylvania is now prompting a lot of changes.
Dude, they do it like this. What did she just say? It killed 5 people? Yeah.
For a year. Well, the tragic daycare fire that killed 5 children.
Oh, daycare fire. I thought they were saying that baptisms killed it.
That's what I thought she said.
Dude, remember there's the video of the priest too, like he's trying to baptize the baby and he slaps him in the face and gets all demonic and evil.
Oh yeah.
This one's going. Okay. Now I wanted to do this one. Last one. Where is he? Alex O'Connor.
I saw this.
You saw this? Oh, hold on.
Yeah, this is funny.
All right.
I talk about this and I debate this all the time, and I debate
this
whether...
is so annoying to me, dude. This is like one of the top YouTuber atheist guys, right? Listen to this.
These types of people who are non-Christian who make these types of arguments, to me, are more annoying than Christians.
Yep. I agree.
I talk about this and I debate this all the time, and I debate whether Jesus was God or whether he even claimed to be God and all of this kind of stuff. But for me, the undeniable thing is that there's this extraordinary historical figure who did something.
So top atheists saying it's an undeniable, extraordinary figure. Like he undeniably existed. Come on, dude. That should be the debate. You're sitting here playing footsies with Christians, arguing over if he's God or not. He's obviously not fucking God. You want to debate that, but not about...
extraordinary. And there's something really weird that happened that caused a bunch of people to start quite early on worshipping him, which is a very strange thing to do to a human being, especially in a Jewish culture. And so, to me, getting at the Gospels from a scholarly perspective helps me to understand who this historical figure was. That's the thing I'm really interested in, almost in the way that somebody might be really interested in Julius Caesar or in whether the Iliad, whether the Trojan War really happened and whether that kind of stuff. I sort of take this approach.
That feels to me like that was your point of entry.
Yes.
I don't know. What is every one of these guys we're playing has a mustache? Ian Carroll, the Groyper guy, and now this guy. The stashes are back, apparently. The 80s porn stashes are back. Freddie Mercury's are back.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
But you've had such a journey and you've met so many amazing people and you've debated so many different angles and things.
Yeah. Look, I've realized Christianity is more plausible than I thought. Come on, dude. This is like he's trying to grift off Christians, dude. This is like the grifting Christians game. You want to get all the big debates. You want to be accepted. You don't want to be offensive. You don't want to be too triggering. You say, Jesus, within reason, Jesus definitely existed.
How does it?
I wonder how much he's looked into
Where's it led you to?
It's led me to, well, I used to be quite on board with the new atheism.
He'll be like, even bought
what does that mean?
You know, like the sort of Richard Dawkins, Christopher Hitchens, it was really popular, the debates that they were doing, they called it new atheism.
Yeah.
And it was this body of like atheist thought with the God delusion, this kind of stuff, which was really popular. And it had this sort of quite strident, debate me bro kind of attitude. And I was really swept up by that. I thought that was really exciting and cool. And I was beginning to sort of shake that off and grow up a bit, essentially. And then running the podcast, what I've realized is that this is far more interesting and intricate, and I would say plausible than I'd given it credit for before. So, I'm still not a Christian.
Jesus is more plausible. Really?
Some people say...
Okay, Jordan Peterson. What?
Yeah. It's not because of like, they made a good argument or anything like that. It's because he's exhausted of arguing with them. Like when he says, I grew up, what he really means is he's gotten exhausted of arguing with them. Most people do not like to argue with these Christians. It's, I like to, you like to, people that are watching this enjoy it some from time to time. But 99.9% of people in the world, the idea of arguing with a Christian about religion is like, that's what hell probably is.
Yeah, it is annoying dealing with cultists like that that are dishonest.
I mean, like,
it's a funny word though, that anyway.
Yeah.
Like I'm less and less certain about the word.
Yeah.
You know what somebody said to me the other day? You're like this. The period of greatest growth ever in the history of the church was from 33 AD to 350.
Yeah.
And during this time, there was no church buildings.
Yeah.
No sermons.
Yeah.
But no singing.
Yeah.
And no Bible.
Yeah.
And like we get very tied up in all of those things and the labels and even the phrase Christian.
Yeah.
It's like I'm not sure where for me, it feels quite like man-made, these sort of words.
Yeah. And that is where I can definitely agree with, especially a Christian of your kind, which is to say someone who will say that and recognize that. Because some people place a lot of stock, particularly Catholics, they place a lot of stock in church tradition and the traditions that developed after Nicaea. And I look at that with a similar kind of man-made skepticism. And I think to myself, it also gives me license to, when I look at the New Testament and I think, some scholars think that Paul maybe didn't write that letter and that's a big problem. But for someone like me, it's like, who cares? If I decide that Paul didn't write 1 Timothy, then I'll just look at the rest of it and I'll try to work out what came between the lines. A good friend of mine said to me once, when there's all this discussion about whether we have the real words of Jesus and whether the Gospels are accurate and whether it's all apocryphal stories, he said that because these were written from early church traditions, Jesus was a real man who was doing real things. We can still know a lot about the character of Jesus. He said, imagine if, for example, have you heard of the Churchillian drift, where like quotes get attributed to Churchill, even though he never said them? Same thing happens with C.S. Lewis.
Yeah.
And he said, imagine if the only information you had historically about Churchill was a book of apocryphal quotes that he never actually said, but that people believed he said. You'd still get a pretty good picture of the kind of person Winston Churchill was.
That's worst case scenario. You
This
still
whole
get a
framing
pretty good
is stupid.
That's
It just assumes. It just like presupposes the entire historical debate. This is not how you would. This is not how you would authentically understand and get to the bottom of it. Was there a historical guy?
Yeah.
So stupid.
Yeah, circular, appealing to the gospel.
I'm really interested in the scholarly stuff and did Jesus really say that? Was this an interpolation? Blah, blah, blah. Is this a translation thing? But the thing that's most fascinating to me below all of that is who was this guy and what was he doing to cause all of this? Even if it's a bunch of confusion and confused timelines, and even if some stories got in there that shouldn't have got in there, the fact that this scramble to write all of this down and turn it into
with the drift.
Exactly. It's still I think extremely interesting.
There wasn't a scramble to write it down. It didn't get. None of these stories came until decades after the fact. If he would have existed,
if we could time travel,
you
would be one of the rough gang. So would I.
Yeah.
I don't think you'd be. I mean, even though you kind of the headlines of you is professor, sort of Oxford. Well, are you a professor?
I'm not a professor. No.
You're very clever. Do you know what I mean? That could potentially put you into the Pharisee type thing. Right. But you are the opposite. You are one. You would have been running wild with Jesus, I think.
Yeah, I like that.
And also, I sort of always got the feel with Jesus. He loved the challenge. He loved the riposte. He loved the mental, verbal, theological challenges.
There's a lot of jousting, a lot of
jousting and brilliant sort of responses that have never been better. You know, whether it's in should we pay our taxes to Caesar or not? The Pharisees are trying to trip him up. And sort of that response of just whose head is on the coin? Pay to him and pay to God what is God. It's sort of brilliant.
Yeah, there's a brilliant.
And I would think that I see a beautiful alignment actually. I think if we would go back in time travel, you'd be running wild with it.
Well, if the science ever gets there,
it's not like it's uncommon that the hero of a story comes out on top in interactions, right? It's they're worshiping some mythical figure because he did cool things in the myth and saying he's real.
Yeah, it's.
I don't know if I can handle the rest of this video. I think the part up front was the best, where he says it's undeniable.
And we managed to go back in time. When people say, where would you go?
Yeah, where would you go? Come on, what would you do?
Of course, you'd go to meet Jesus.
I love it. What point? Where would you go? Would you go after the resurrection, or would you want to be there at the beginning? What about in the 17 years?
That's interesting. I think that the moment that you'd want to witness, if you could only have 5 minutes, would be the moment of the crucifixion. And the reason is that you would see that this was a man, the crucifixion happened, you would see whether the curtain tore, whether the sky opened, all of that kind of stuff. And it would give you all of that. I mean,
We're seriously entertaining the idea that the crucifixion story is real. Maybe we'll see if the curtain ripped in the dark, the sky went dark. Like, come on, dude. This is obviously myth.
Finding evidence for like the, I think in the sort of, the star stuff and they said there was
like the solar eclipse.
The solar eclipse. I've actually done it. It's the exact kind of like
That's really interesting.
It's really interesting.
What are the zombies?
No, it's not.
That moment is.
It's not actually not interesting. It's Christian apologetics. You gonna say something? I thought I heard you.
No, I just said, what about the zombies?
Yeah. Let's see the zombies raised from their graves.
Kind of also to see the first ever Roman Christian. Well,
yes, yeah.
The centurion truly son of God.
Yeah.
This man is the son of God.
Shit.
But then part of
that's interesting. You go to that moment. That's kind of cool.
But part of me would say, although, you want to see the resurrection, you want to see part of me wants to say I would just like to meet him walking along during his ministry and just say, listen, man, I've got 5 minutes.
Yes.
Who are you? Like,
yes.
are
you the real deal?
Are you Messiah? Are you God? Are you claiming to be God? Like, that's what I'd want to do. I'd want to ask that question. And I mean, where would you go in Jesus' life? 5 minutes.
So it's so interesting, isn't it?
I love how we jump over what we should be debating, like if he really existed, and go and start fantasizing about this delusional stuff. Oh, I'm gonna go walk with him and be like, "Hey, are you really God, man?" Like, what are we even doing?
Yeah, I don't know.
Top tier.
Yeah, I think
atheist YouTuber.
Jocelyn 8 sent $5 on Rumble. So fake and gay. Impossible to take men who believe this seriously.
He doesn't even believe it. That's the worst part. He's a big time atheist YouTuber. His whole career is like supposedly debunking the Bible, and then here he is pandering and groveling to Jesus like this. Anyway, that's all we got for today. I'll be back tomorrow with another show. Thanks for joining, Amalek. Let us know what you guys think in the comments. Yeah, thanks. You have to come back again and do it again.
Anytime.
Do it again soon. All right. Thank you, everybody, for watching, and I will see you guys again tomorrow. Hopefully, we'll get going by 2 p.m. Eastern. I will see you guys then. Take care. Hail the